Woo! All right, let us begin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the capsule. We are back again. With one of the scholars of the dancing, one of the professor of movement. No, but have you got like a master's? Or do we need to call you, do we need to put letters after your name, or what's the
after or before?
Before, I don't know how well.
Nothing yet.
No,
I've got like
in the works.
A bachelor and a master's.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying bachelor like nobody else has a bachelor. But
well,
like,
I don't, so you're good.
But, and I am doing my PhD at this point in time. But like,
so after we have to say
Doctor G. Just call me Dr. G.
Dr. G.
Not left G.
Wait. Oh, I was gonna say. I was like, doesn't your name begin with a J?
Yeah. You can also say Dr. J. Like
Dr. J is cool.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're gonna go there. Like, so everybody soon. You know
Dr.
what to
J
do.
coming to you. We have Joelle of In the House of
Sui generis.
Yep, never know how to pronounce that. I can spell it, I can't pronounce it.
No, it's calm, bro. That's right.
Any other crews that we should shout out?
Not at this point in time.
The most London sounding German I've ever met.
Jeez, boy, you heard that, yeah?
Besides
to all the haters out there.
Besides maybe Dennis.
Right.
Dennis is I don't even know what his accent is now because he's been out of the UK for a while. But Dennis sounds like a Londoner.
Probably like
you and Dennis having a conversation and then switching to German would probably mess so many people up. Like what? But yeah, you're a very London sounding German. Multi-linguist.
Yeah,
you speak like 27 languages, right?
It was actually 29. But
okay, yeah, but you forgot a couple.
A couple exactly. Like so, like right now we're down to like 3 that I'm fluent in and like 2 that I can communicate in.
Being fluent in 3 languages is wild. I can barely get halfway through French.
You're gonna get there, bro. You're definitely gonna get there.
I'm trying.
100%.
One day we'll do a pod in French, and then that will be the day. If I can do a 2-hour pod in French, that will be. And
then you'll be like, "Thank you for all these years. It's been fun."
Yeah, I'll close down the capsule after that. That was the whole point of all of this, was to practice my French. But yeah, well, thanks for being here. So many things I feel like we could talk about. Well, definitely. So first, I guess the first thing is, because it's the main thing that I'm curious about, I guess, is your work / research / multiple degrees in performance psychology. Is that right?
Sports and performance psychology, basically. That's what I specialize in.
Okay, so for me / the people at home, I always say like, the people at home that don't get it, when I don't get it, and I just want to use them as no, I understand, but just for them.
Just for them, of course, yeah.
Can you explain like what is that in like layman's terms? Like
like essentially we're just talking about like, because I always basically say that like, okay, cool, I'll say performance psychology because like when we're talking about performance, everything can be a performance, right?
Okay,
like
true.
Sports is just like obviously one of the things that like that is highlighted based on performance, in the sense that like, okay, cool, like there's like, we're talking about competitive performance,
right?
In the same way like we would be talking about it in like in the dance scene when it comes to battles.
Yeah.
But like I always like to say performance psychology, and essentially like in very simple, it's just the psychology of everything that like affects the way you're going to be performing. So the underlying factors, right, of the way you think, the way like you're going to be making decisions, like everything that like basically inspires your performance. And we are like wanting to like, as a performance psychologist, we are wanting to understand, okay, to what extent are we capable of like helping you achieve like a higher level, right? And this is pretty much what it is. But this is also the reason why sometimes people refer to it as like high performance psychology, because we're talking about like, generally speaking, elites within their fields.
Is that because it's just more of a like a practical case of like, okay, those are the people that like, someone who's an amateur jiu-jitsu person is not going to hire a performance psychology. You know what I mean? Even if they could use it.
Definitely. And this is always the thing that I highlight, hence why I don't really like saying high performance psychology, but it's usually the term that like most people, especially in the field, are going to be using.
Yeah.
Performance psychology is for everyone.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? It's really for everyone, because like at the end of the day, like there's a performance behind everything that you do. You know what I'm saying?
I can imagine like, if someone's going to do like a public speaking or a speech, and just like the things that they have to get into their mind of like, even the most cliche thing of like, have you heard of like imagining the audience in their underwear type of, this is like base level performance psychology, I would assume, right? It's just like things that like put yourself in a mindset to be able to do
Definitely.
a task.
Like this, for example, would be like visualization, you know,
Right.
and like this is a psychological like skill.
Yeah.
So there's like various psychological skills that then like deal with like visualization, with like breathing, with like what else is there? Like well, there's something called mental contrasting, which is still connected to like, you know, like visualization. But yeah, like anything again that like, you know, is going to be helping you like perform better.
Right,
you know?
right.
And like these are the simple things, if you want, you know.
Got you, yeah.
So yeah.
So then I would assume probably not a lot of the people that were like studying it as well were specialists in dance. Is it more like football, like, you know, like,
definitely, like
athletics, these type of things?
Exactly. Like that's also the reason why most performance psychologists, I would say, like are sports psychologists, because again, like there's a demand for that. There's a demand for that because again, based on like competitive outcomes, you know what I'm saying? Like
there's not really people like hiring a performance psychologist for their TED talk necessarily.
Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the thing. That's not common at this point in time, but I can definitely see it becoming a thing more and more, because like more and more now, like you've got people actually focusing on the idea of performance psychology as opposed to like just sports psychology. You know, because again, like even though like it always comes down to the brain, like, you know, so like you're always going to be transferring your skills from like one domain to another, and that basically means that like we are capable of like taking everything that we learn in sports psychology and like apply it to like even, for example, business. So like a lot of sports psychologists actually like also like tend to or some of them, not a lot, but like some of them tend to work like with business psychology as well, because it's the psychology of like working with teams, you know what I'm saying? And again, like performance outcomes in regards to like the business and like, you know, the type of mission, vision that you have and stuff like that.
So yeah, in the sense where like a football team would need certain psychology among the 11 players or the 22 players on the team, you could apply that same team-based logic to a business.
Exactly. But like this is then when it becomes performance psychology instead of like sports psychology, you know what I'm saying? So hence why again, whenever I say that, I always highlight, like this is
changes the boundaries, but it's like transferable skills in a way. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily only about like, okay, I get nervous, I always like fuck up things. It's like, okay, if there's a team-based thing or the dynamics at play in any one circumstance, if that can be transferred out of sport, it can be transferred. Like
exactly, and that's it. That's really it. And like even more so, I would say that like, you know, because a lot of people think of it as like as being like solution focused, which is one approach like within sports and performance psychology.
What would an example of like solution focus be?
Like basically everything that you just described. You know, there is an issue, right? There's like, okay, whenever I perform, I get nervous, like, and when I get nervous, this happens. So we are trying to find a solution to like that specific problem. And then of course, like there's like a variety of problems that like you can be facing, you know, but like for me personally, and this is because like I'm very humanistic in my approach, you know, like it comes like down to like understanding who you are, because like understanding who you are like allows you to like be who you want to be when you're performing. It allows you to bring like whoever you are, like
authentically,
authentically to the dance floor, to like the basketball court, to the like, you know, like to your business.
Well, I guess it's like my parallel that I could draw is like when I first started doing the podcast, I was so nervous about how people would receive what I was saying or the guest or what I was talking or not being as knowledgeable about the thing as I would have liked to, that probably the pod wasn't, like my personality wasn't coming through. Now it's like, I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't care about being knowledgeable. But like now I'm more relaxed, you know, 170 episodes in. Now I can be me on 172.
Are you deep in that, bruv?
There's some people that have listened to all of them. They deserve like a free mug or something. But no, but it's like, now I can relax and be myself and I'm not worried about all those things. That my personality comes through a lot more, which probably I would assume makes the pod better than when I'm like oh 100%. Okay, yeah, sure, you know, like
100%, you know, and like finding this level of comfort, you know, it's like it's because you understand the pod, you understand like how to deliver it, you understand what kind of challenges you've ran into, you know what I'm saying, like the obstacles and all of that. But like when you're coming into the space like not really knowing, you know, and not really learning about the space as well, like it becomes problematic. And some people,
right,
and this is the reason why, like, you know, you've got so many pods that are not successful, is because they're never learning from like what is actually happening.
Oh yeah.
And they're always in that same space, and it's just a like cycle that keeps going and going, you know what I'm saying? And like, this is where again performance psychology can really help in terms of like, okay, but like what is it that you're trying to achieve? You know what I'm saying? And from there then like we go wherever we need to go, basically.
Yeah, it does sound like it has a lot of crossover with almost like business or like coaching in terms of like strategy, because I feel like what you're saying is like, not that I would do it in a performance psychology way, but like, let's say if someone was like, all right, I want to start a YouTube channel, or I want to start, I've had this conversation with people that want to start podcasts, and it's like, here's what do you want to do? How are you going to learn from it? How are you going to build? Like,
for sure,
what's the process of doing that? I guess
exactly.
Yeah,
because like, you know, essentially speaking, it's about like adapting to like the space that you find yourself within, right? And that like again requires a couple of things that like at the end of the day, everything that you do like is a reflection of your mind. You know what I'm saying? Again, the more you understand that, the more you're capable of like actually expressing that when it comes to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And going through this like a performance psychologist, again, like what they are meant to be doing is like taking you through this top-down process. You know, we're starting here, and then like we're translating it into like whatever you want this to like basically turn into. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I think I get what you mean. Yeah. So, but okay. So my question is like, right, with sport.
Yeah.
A lot of times what you're trying to achieve is very straightforward and clear cut and pragmatic. It's like run a tenth of a second faster than you used to run, or be faster, be stronger, jump higher, kick the ball more accurately, whatever it might be, right? With dance, to a lot of our frustration, there's not one way of being better, right? And sometimes the most counterproductive things, like this, like that should not work. You should be terrible, but everybody loves you, or whatever, right? Or you're winning all the battles, but you're doing everything in air quotes wrong. Or the vice versa, which I think happens more, which is I'm doing everything right, but I'm not getting anywhere, right? So how do you translate that? Because if you're working with someone who is like, right, let's say I'm a sprinter, and every time, I don't know if I'm making a shit example, so tell me, but like,
that's right, bro. Let's go.
Like every time I'm on the starting blocks and the gun's about to go off, my brain overthinks and I end up missing the trigger moment, and I can't have that laser focus to just react to the sound because I start panicking or whatever, right? So that's pretty straightforward. It's like focus, be able to react to that stimulus and go. But now if I'm like, right, every time I enter prelims, I can't focus on whatever, and then it might have like various outcomes, I guess. It's not so much as like, oh, I can't dance for a minute. It's like I can't express myself. It's a lot more vague.
For sure.
So how does that translate, and what is it that you're like teaching in that moment, or is it just pretty straightforward crossover?
Like it's a very good question, because like essentially like in dance, like what I got to be like accounting for is complexity. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a way more complex like field and like area, in the sense that like, you know, the outcomes also depend on like, what is it that you want from this? How is it that you want to feel when doing this? Like, because we know that like we want to be feeling great, you know what I'm saying?
But I guess also the people that need that might not have the clarity to know what they want from it.
That's the thing. And like, you know, like slowly we start to teach them about like, okay, like think of a performance, for example, where you felt great. Like, you know, what is it that felt great about it? So like we start like tracking back, we start like, you know, going into like the memories of like, you know, specific performances, and from there we start into basically build like the idea of like self-awareness, you know. And from there then like the next thing that we need to be doing, right, is like understanding like the concept of like contextual sensitivity, which is essentially like you being in a space, right? And you then understanding, okay, like in that space, what prevents me from bringing the qualities that I have? What prevents me from like, or what like enables me to bring the qualities that I have? You know what I'm saying? And these are the recognition dimensions: self-awareness, contextual sensitivity. You know what I'm saying?
What does contextual sensitivity mean in like basic terms?
Okay, like basically it's just like, what is it like? What are your surroundings like? Meaning like, how do you feel in this space? How does this space make you feel?
Like literally being sensitive to
the space, to your surroundings.
So like when I'm in prelims, I feel like this, and it makes me feel like this, and I'm just the first step is like being sensitive to that in order to change it.
Exactly. Like, and for example, like and this is actually like one thing that I always use, contextual like sensitivity is one of the things that like allows you to understand what things only you can do in a specific space.
Okay.
Right. So like, for example, like one moment in which like, I'm probably thinking about it because I'm here right now. Right. But like one of the things that I'm thinking about is like on the floor.
Yeah.
Right. Like when I was competing, there was like a clarity for me in terms of like, okay, who like are the judges right now?
Yeah.
You know, like in terms of what are their backgrounds, not only like who are they, but like what are their backgrounds. So like understanding that two of the judges like are closely or more closely connected to the idea of house music also enables me to understand that there's things that I am capable of doing, right, that may not like work with the crowd, but that may work with people that are like more in tune with
the
house,
music.
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, again, it allows me to make decisions based on my qualities. Again, and this comes like, then we're again talking about like, you know, self-awareness. But like, in order for you to be able to do that, again, you need to be like sensitive, like to the context that you find yourself within. And you need to be able to say that like, okay, based on the context that I'm within right now, the three judges that are sitting there, like there's specificity to it. It's not just like, oh yeah, there's three judges sitting there like any other event. No, it's these three judges. It's this opponent that is sitting in front of me. It's like, what's the crowd like? What's the atmosphere like? Competing at Just to Boo is not the same as like competing at like random circles.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And like, this is what contextual sensitivity is basically about. Understanding these little things and then acting on these. And that then takes us to the next kind of like the response dimensions, you know?
Right. Because I guess... it can happen with anything, but like especially with dance, that it's like people are kind of using the same tool for every problem. In that makes sense. It's like I go and do this round that I know how to do, and it's like but you know we were watching Jimmy at Summer Dance against Doya, I think this year. And me and Lewis were watching it. We were just chatting about it, and it's like how he engages the crowd way, like Doya is really good at like battling his technique and stuff like that. But it's like, and what I was saying to Lewis at the time when we were watching is like, and the reason why we were watching it, I was like, the skill that Jimmy's employing for me is like a cypher skill. So it's like
100%.
And we had a whole I don't know if we did it. I think we spoke about ciphers and stuff on the pod, but where like, you know, especially at the sessions where a lot of people are like new to party and cipher atmosphere, they are going into ciphers and doing like intricate, complex rounds and not quite getting the same response that someone else is. Like we were talking about Shaq, if you know him. I'll point him out to you. You probably know him, but like he's not such a battle heavy dancer, but he's a party guy and he's got a great personality. So he was getting the ciphers going, whereas maybe some other people are trying to do too much intricate stuff. And the whole point is this contextual sensitivity. Exactly, there we go. Where like you're understanding like how to get those people going and whatever. And I think what Jimmy did, which is really cool, is like in a battle context where you could only be focused on the judges and the music and that he's actually employing the crowd as almost like a secret weapon of like, it's going to be really hard, even just in a battle technique way, is like, you're going to find it hard to battle me if this entire, even if you think you're better than me, if this entire crowd is off their feet. So it's like really interesting where you're like, not only is like, let's say with this example with Jimmy, not only is he able to use this contextual sensitivity in other spaces, but he's able to bring it in to go, this isn't the right moment for this technically, but I'm going to bring it in order to use it for my advantage. See, it's like Jackie Chan in the fighting thing, like using the tables and the chairs. You know what I'm saying?
But bro, like this is literally what it is, because it's not like, it's never really about like, it works or it doesn't, but it's about making it work. You know what I'm saying? It's always about making it work. But like, again, within a specific environment, you will need to like add up specific things to get a specific outcome. And you need to understand like, okay, what are these things in this environment that allow me to like create this moment? And Jimmy now, like when you're thinking about it, like with the way his dance is expressive as well, you know what I'm saying? With the way
great personality and all that,
you know what I'm saying? Like very experienced, all of these things already like, they are based on like, again, the self-awareness of like, you know, that he has of himself. But then again, like the experience speaks on like, okay, cool, how do I maneuver around this space? And like one thing that like a lot of people, in my opinion, like in battles don't understand is that like you take ownership of your round. The moment like you're dancing, you know what I'm saying, you're constantly making decisions in terms of like the message that you're sending out there. 100%. But like if you are unaware of that and you just think on the basis of like physical and technical skill, like again, physicality and technique are super important because these are the visuals of our styles, you know what I'm saying? But like, if you're not making decisions in regards to the delivery, which is more about the how than about the what, then like, you know, you're not actually fulfilling your potential. And that is very like sad, you know?
Yeah. And also it's like people, especially because it's freestyle or whatever, I think a lot of people just start moving. And if you stopped in the middle of like that 32 seconds out of a minute round and just said, okay, everyone stop, pause. What's the plan right now? What are you doing? They're like, oh, I don't know. I was just chasing this or I was just moving. It's like you didn't, like you're not present in the thing. You're just moving. And then at the end, you look back and go, what did I even do? Which is like, you know what? 100%. It's actually funny because I feel like Tally sometimes is on the other end of the spectrum or in terms of like, she's not a competitive dancer or anything like that, but she is one of the first people I heard talk about this, where she said in one of her, we're going to talk about it on maybe next week's episode, but in one of her intensives that I did, well, I think, or maybe one of her classes, she was saying in terms of improvisation or freestyle, she was like, a lot of times I'm paraphrasing, sorry, Tally, but like a lot of times we like black out and we just move and we look back and we're like, what even just happened? Which is beautiful in a way. And especially if you can deliver good shit by just blacking out and doing something, then okay, lucky you. Yeah. But it's also like beautiful to be able to be present and to make conscious decisions as you go through.
That's the thing.
First of all, in terms of like just being connected with you and what you want to do. And like you said, like delivering the expressive, whatever it is in the art sense, is like you can make more informed decisions if you're making them in the moment.
100%.
But even more if you're trying to achieve something. Like if you're trying to win a battle, if you're trying, like it's kind of in a way like, I guess like, you know, like if you go see stand-up comedy or whatever, if they're doing crowd work and something isn't banging, they might push it a little bit, but they also might switch to, all right, this isn't working, let me try something else. This isn't working, let me try something else. And it's not to say we can't do that as dancers. Like, okay, 100. I thought this type of thing would bang, but the crowd aren't really reacting, or the opposite, which I see happen a lot with good dancers. We all know this, where it's like, you feel the crowd start to build with what you're doing. And you might have thought, oh, I was just going to do one wave and move on. But they loved it in that moment. So let me keep pushing it. Or you hit something in the beat and they loved it. So you keep going in order to like, you're like, you can divert and go, well, if they're loving that, let me give them more, or let me, whatever, take them on this journey. But if you're not conscious or present, you're not going to be able to do any of that.
100%. And like, you know, that because there's two sides of that, like, or to that, because to a certain extent, like you can be conscious of it in the sense that like, okay, cool, you realize that this is happening. You realize that like, okay, cool, the crowd is responding, like, you know, whoever is watching is responding. But on the other hand, it's also like this thing of like, you know, making sure that like when you're conscious of it, like you don't become overly conscious of it in the sense that like, you know, like
it throws you off. Or?
Exactly. And like, I always say that like your habits, you know, are your habits. Your habits don't own you.
Yeah.
You are here utilizing these habits, and you are making sure that like, you know, whatever you have, like you utilize it in the way that you want. And like very often, for example, like when we are in these situations and we're feeling a certain way, it's almost like we feel the pressure to continue a specific thing, or we feel the pressure of like, okay, no, I need to switch it up because like it didn't work right now. Right. And like, again, if it's a conscious choice in terms of like, I believe that this is the best decision right now, it's one thing. But if like there's a feeling that arises and you are now forced because like you are incapable of dealing with that feeling, again, it becomes like about something that is like, you're not in control and you're not taking like ownership, you know what I'm saying? So like there's that. And then on the other hand, like we're talking about this like idea of not actually like coming out of a pre-selection, coming out of a battle and being like, yo, I have no idea what just happened. And again, sometimes that can be a beautiful thing. If it happens constantly, it's also like not sad, but like you also need to consider that like we're constantly gaining feedback from the things that we do. So like if you are always coming out not knowing what has happened, you know what I'm saying? There's always,
how are you going to grow?
Exactly. Of course you can, but like it's this thing where like you will have less opportunity to do that because you haven't got the same like, or you're not generating the same insight, right, from these moments, which like will inherently already like change who you are. Like, bro, it's an experience, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100. And then like, the more conscious you are of how you felt or what did or didn't work.
100,
That's kind of what you got. Oh yeah, I did this, or I panicked, or I whatever. For sure. But I guess also like what you're saying, like the reverse of what I was saying is almost like the Dave Chappelle type thing where maybe you're saying something and then the audience, like if we're talking about comedy, the audience aren't laughing, and you could like go, oh, they're not laughing, let me change it and do something else. But or you could go, good, like I want you to not laugh. Like, or it might be like, let's say it's like, right, you're not cheering for every dance move I do, 100. But that's the point. I want you to focus. I want you to be more like, look at the details of what I'm doing. And it's like, you have to have the confidence to sit in that. As opposed to, just switching it up if it doesn't work how you, so it's like that balance, you know what I'm saying?
Like, exactly. And like that, again, it goes back to like ownership. I want you to do that. Right now, I own this space, which means like I am also like not necessarily in control of you lot, but I am in control of the atmosphere and like where I want to be taking the atmosphere, where I want to be taking this moment, this experience, what I want you to be focusing on, what like, you know, I don't want you to be focusing on, and like all these things, you know?
So, okay. So with that, I feel like one thing that I've spoken to people about and that they've found difficult with, especially when it comes to battles, is the quick decision making.
Yes.
Because this is something that I've said to people a lot about, like, okay, when you're doing a battle, is like, you have to, I mean, this is kind of my way, but also I think it's like the way that you should do battles in a way, but tell me if you disagree. But it's like, okay, somebody's in front of you, either you're going first or you're going second, but either way, you have to capitalize on your strengths and capitalize on their weaknesses, right? Or use their strengths against them. So for example, somebody's really good with like, I don't know, intricate top stuff. And that's what they're like known for, right? Like, I don't know, Robo-Z or I don't know, someone like that.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
So then what I'm doing is a whole round of floor work. Because you're so good at that, I'm going to highlight that you don't do the other thing. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is, right? And then therefore, and also like matching it. It's almost like the Pokemon card, you know, like finding which ones are strong against which type and weak. Definitely. But I think, and for me, I mean, I did this at the battle the other day, but like, even if I know I'm going to lose, like I'm like the popping button. Were you there? I think I was drunk, so I don't remember. But like the guy I battled, like he went first, and I know popping enough to know like, all right, he's got me. Like I haven't been training. I don't think I can beat this round. But in my head, I was like, all right, just don't go out like a bitch. And also, I was like, he knew the song, and so did I. But he danced to it better, right?
Okay, fair play. Yeah.
So I was like, the judges are going to vote for him because he knows the song and his popping technique to the song was both there. Like he wasn't just singing the song.
For sure.
But I was like, okay, but I'm not going to let the crowd, like, especially for the people that don't know popping as well. I know the song as well. I just know I can't do a good enough popping technique to win the battle. But I was like, I'm going to hit everything in the song that I can. I know I'm going to finish the round strong. I'm going to battle him because he got the crowd like cheering. So I was like, I did the, you know, like you go to give him vibe. Just all that shit where I'm like, I didn't care about him. But I was like, I'm going to get the crowd going, oh, like, you know, and reacting.
For sure.
Just purely for like a, you know, engagement or like, you know, like for them to be involved in the round. Knowing full well, I'm pretty sure I was like, I don't think I can win this. I'm not being defeatist, but just in terms of like a rational evaluation. But the difference is I made all those decisions within the second 30 seconds of his round. I'm watching, I'm like, right, from a judge perspective, I know how this dance is. I know my level, how much I've been training. I'm pretty self-aware of like, every time I train, I film myself. I know what my popping looks like pretty realistically. I think I'm a decent judge. I can understand. So then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm also looking at what the crowd is doing, blah, blah, blah. But I think like when I've spoken about this sort of stuff, like a lot of people they're like, I can't decide that quick. Oh, there's too many. They're like, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do this. But is there a way, I don't know what the parallels would be in sport. Maybe like, because I guess I don't know so much about football, but I guess in basketball, you're setting up plays and you're kind of understanding, right, the team are doing this. So for the next 3 or 4 plays, we're going to play a zone defense or whatever. But I guess like what would be your advice to people, or like how can they combat this like quick decision-making thing and stick to it? You know what I mean? Because I think some people like, they think, okay, I'm going to do this. And then halfway through the round, they're like, it's not working, bail or whatever. Like how do they do that?
Like one thing that I would say is that like there's a time to think, right? And like then there's a time where you just do.
You have to just execute.
Exactly. And there's like actually a famous sports psychologist, his name is Timothy Galway, that basically spoke about this idea of like, you know, us having like different selves, right? He speaks about like self 1 and self 2, you know? Self 1 being like in the like, well, when you're first looking at it, self one is the ego.
Yeah.
It's the ego, right? Everything, like every single time when you hear something, exactly what you just said. Oh no, it's not working. Like I got to bail.
Yeah.
Self one, ego. Telling you like this
ego
is not
meaning
working.
what?
Yeah.
Like practically.
Ego basically is it's the voice that you hear inside your head.
Right.
Even though like there's some people that don't hear voices, I'm fully aware of that. I like, you know, but
I don't hear a voice. I hear like I have like abstract thoughts.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I don't hear someone going, I want some water. I just picture water.
Yeah, but like for example, like, you know, this thing of like, have you ever gone like into a cipher, come out and then like heard in your head that was shit?
But like not heard it, but like I felt it.
You felt it.
Yeah,
there was a clear feeling to it, you know what I'm saying? So like whether it's a voice, exactly, whether it's like a feeling, like something that communicates, right? Like an idea to you in the moment. Again, this is the feedback that I'm talking about. You're doing something and instantly like there's a feeling for like what that felt like. You know what I'm saying? Whether like sometimes you don't know what that feeling is, but you know that there's something there and like sometimes you need more time to figure that out.
And just on that, before we carry on, I've never explained it in that way that like you're saying, but like I've spoken about this kind of thing of like, you know, you do a round and you're like, oh, that was shit. So you kind of give up or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But it's like more times than not, I feel like that part of you is wrong.
Yeah.
Or doesn't know. Like 100%. I've had people that be like
100%.
Even me saying what I just said about like, oh, I knew I was going to lose isn't strictly true because I thought, okay, there's a good chance I'm not going to be able to beat him, but I didn't think I'm going to lose, and I didn't dance like I was going to lose, right? I danced like I'm trying my best to win still. But I feel like some people will see a round or like they'll enter a prelim and be like, I'm not getting through. And then almost like dance like they're not going to get through.
100%.
But I think also the problem is like, and this is the way I've explained it, but tell me if this is the same thing that we're talking about. But like the way I've explained it is like often you're not good enough to make that decision, or you don't understand enough. Either you're not able to see yourself. Like, you know, when people do a battle and they immediately go, nah, I was robbed, I won that. I mean, you haven't even watched it back. Like, how can you be inside yourself saying I won that? That like that's your brain is telling you that felt like a good round. But often the things that feel good don't look good, or the things that feel bad look good. Like, it's not so obvious straight away. So it's like when people are like, oh, I'm going to lose this, it's like, yeah, but you don't know that, so you can't dance like you're going to lose it because you aren't able to judge yourself from a third person perspective while you're dancing. It doesn't make sense to do that. So is that kind of the same thing where it's like
it is similar, it's very connected, and like you're making like some really good like examples also in regards to how you handle it, right? Like one thing that like I'm going to be saying, like it's rarely about actual ability and more about perceived ability. So the moment like you think that like I can't win this, or I am going to lose anyway, you know, again, this is like the ego, you know, again, sometimes like is referred to like self one as the ego. Sometimes it's like, it's the conscious mind, because like, it's like,
that's what I was going to say. It sounds like your consciousness. Exactly. That's the part that,
you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's different ways like of thinking about it. Like, but like what it does is that it affects self two. Self two is seen as the subconscious mind. Self two is seen as the body. Self two is seen as the doer. If self one is the thinker, you know,
almost like is this dumb? But like the ant, like the bees or the ants. Like the queen is the thinker, the self one, and then the ants that just do the thing and go get leaves. Like that's the self two. It's like I'm just doing like, what the queen told me. I don't know. I don't have a choice.
Exactly. Like, at least like what is happening is that like you're going to feel the impact of self one. Yeah. Now like what you're talking about is like exactly what like Galway, when he spoke about this idea, like he said like we need to learn to turn the ego into the observer, which means that like no matter what we're doing, again, we're still going to be having the feeling, but like or specific feelings, right? But like we are capable of saying like in the way you did, right? Okay, there's a good chance that I'm going to be losing this, and like seeing that as almost like objective, not as like something that is like that speaks for how good you are or how bad you are, you know what I'm saying, at a specific something, but it speaks for like the way you have processed the information that is right ahead of you. But now like it doesn't prevent you from like making the decision of being like, okay, cool, like I'm gonna do this. You know what I'm saying? Because you understood already that, like, okay, technically speaking, I can't keep up with the person in front of me. But that was because of this judgment, like not judgment, but this evaluation of the situation that happened or that you had in front of you, right? And it's exactly the same thing. Like, we are capable of coming out of a cipher and being like, okay, that didn't feel so good. Instead of saying like, oh yeah, that felt like shit. You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
I guess also with separating them, like let's say the example that I gave, there had to be like in my head, I did say, I think he's got this round.
Yes.
But there has to also come with that a level of acceptance that what I'm thinking is not reality, because in order to still go, otherwise why did I even bother? Like to even still try and win is like, okay, I think this, but it's like, I'm 90% sure. I have to accept that there's a 10% or more barrier of like, this is not based in reality because I'm not the judge in this. I'm in my body. So there's no way this can be real. Exactly. And I think order to, like, once you have that acceptance of this might not be 100% reality, then it's easier to just do, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you still got to do the job. You still got to do the job. Like, you're still expected to be delivering whatever you want to deliver. You can sabotage yourself in the process, you know what I'm saying? And again, most of us naturally do that because we're prone to do that, or like this is something that, like, you know, like we learn from a very, very like young age to like judge things like
based on our feelings.
Exactly. Seeing things as good or bad, you know, like when like in a space like dance, very often like it's too complex to be taking all the variables into like, you know, consideration, which means that like very often you actually have the like opportunity, the possibility to create a change. It might not lead to the outcome that you want, but you're capable of creating a change again on the basis of understanding like, okay, what's actually happened, you know? And when you're looking at the process, right, it starts with self one, right, taking in information, that information being processed, like being turned into feedback, right? That feedback then leads to an intention. Okay, I am going to be doing this. Like, because I am technically not as advanced as my opponent, I'm going to be trying to, self two now goes into the battle, right? As in, and like, you, the doer, and does. But that is only when like there's a clear intention. So like if we don't have that, and like let's say we're looking now at a cycle that is a little bit more negative, self one tells you, oh yeah, like that is shit. I'm gonna lose. This is shit. Like I've got no chance. This is the information that you're passing on. Yeah. What feedback are you getting from that? You're not judging the situation. You're judging yourself. Yes. Like now, what intention is gonna come from that? No and clear intention, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Because I guess also in the terms of, if we, maybe I'm simplifying it, but also like in terms of just looking at it as like negative or positive response. Like let's say again, just because it's easier to use my example, but like I'm not thinking as a main thought, my movement is shit. Like I'm not thinking my popping is shit, right? No, definitely not. Because then I would go out and anything I'm doing, I would execute terribly, because every movement I'm like, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. But what I was thinking is like, right, he's got good popping. I want a certain objective, but I'm good at engaging the crowd, having a personality. So I'm using that. So actually in that round, if you ask me realistically, I'm like, yeah, my popping wasn't great, but my performative element was great. And that's what I was focusing on. So now maybe I'm coming out of it feeling more positive, because I'm like, I focused on, Luke, you can keep a crowd's attention. Like, don't let him, at least, even if he's going to win the battle, don't let him take this moment away. Then I execute it based on that. And then I come away with a good feeling about my battling. Yes. And I don't feel negative, because I'm like, yeah, I lost, but I achieved what I wanted to based on my interpretation, I guess.
100%. But bro, it's that. It's really, really that. Because like at the end of the day, like there's too many variables like for you to be like, you know, like basically deciding at the beginning of this battle, or like, again, it doesn't even need to be a battle. You know, it can be a situation.
Cypher, like, or a performance or whatever.
You know? Like to be deciding that like you take the first step felt shit, and you're already sabotaging yourself for the next like 30 steps that you're taking, and this is what tends to like happen, you know. And it starts to become a really, really funny and like engaging game the moment you feel the first step and you're like, oh, that doesn't feel great, okay, but like what does? And you try to like figure out as you go. You know, it's like, this is literally what we're talking like,
and like
you're
looking
about,
for
like,
the positivity.
Struggle. Exactly.
Right.
You know, when we're struggling with something, we're essentially like, we're trying to overcome that specific something. Right. And this is also the reason why, like, sometimes when we're like, you know, whether it's like us fighting with friends or like, you know, there's some kind of like debate going on where like, you know, like when it's fun, it's fun. Yeah. But like that struggle in itself also can be fun, in the sense that like, you're trying to, in the heat of the moment, trying to make this feeling of like, you know, something going shit you're trying to make this feeling turn good. You know what I'm saying? And the moment you start engaging in that process, like constantly, like actually what it does is that like it changes your brain structure.
Right.
It really like teaches you to like perceive a perception in a way it teaches you to perceive, right, a situation in a way that like, okay, cool, this is the problem and I'm going to be solving it.
Yeah.
Right. And this is when we get into the psychological factors of like performance. The fact that like when you like these processes are not like practiced, you are slave to the way you think, to the way you feel, and then like whatever comes out, again, like I said, it's still a reflection of this. Yeah. But if this is not clear, then like whatever you're going to be producing, it's more like you can still produce greatness, but the thing is that like it's more random.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think right, this makes a lot of sense, because I'm like a quarter of the way through a book at the moment called Reframe Your Brain, and it's this type of thing where it's like, I don't know if it's from the book or I saw it somewhere else, but like that I can't even credit the person, it's someone somewhere said that like when there's a challenge, whatever that it might be, is like if you make yourself have an instinctual response to say good, like, oh, this thing went wrong, good. Like this thing went wrong, good. Like, because now I can try and solve it. Like, oh, I'm glad that there's a challenge. I'm glad that my mic stopped working, because now I have to learn how to whatever, right? I hope my mic didn't stop working. But, you know what I mean? It's like those sort of like reframing of like, or like looking, this is something I think I've done in life just because I hate being sad and it's such a like heavy feeling on me. But I'm like, just looking for the positivity in everything, you know. It's like, okay, my day went shit, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes I'm just a rain cloud, but like, you know, my day went shit, blah, blah, blah. Oh, but there's this one, like an old friend that I haven't spoken to text me. Oh, that's what I'm focusing on rather than all the shit things. And the more you look for the good stuff, the more you find it, you know. It's like, there's a different book which I love called The Art of Thinking Clearly. Have you heard of it? I think you'd like it, but you probably know all the stuff in it. But
I'm gonna like check it.
It's about all the like cognitive biases that Camilla read it. She said she was like, she liked some of it. But like, for example, like confirmation bias, or like the one I love is like the swimmer's body illusion, which is like, have you heard of this?
No, I'm not.
It's like people look at swimmers and they say they're all in super good shape, so therefore swimming must be good exercise. But actually, because the person is born with good genetics and is in shape, they gravitate towards swimming. So it's not that swimming makes you in shape, but it does. But like, no, it's not necessarily that swimming makes you in shape. It's that being in shape makes you want to be a swimmer. Right, so like you're looking at the thing the wrong way around.
Yes.
And it like just stuff like that of like reframing your brain or seeing things in this way, it like helps you to like find the positivity or find the thing of like, you know, it's like if we take it back to battles, it's like those people that is like, it's always the judge is robbing them every single time, and it's like you're looking for the reason why the judge doesn't like you, as opposed to the reverse.
You know, but like it's a defensive mechanism because like, that way, like I don't need to take accountability for the fact that I lost. And if I don't need to take accountability for the fact that I lost, I don't need to feel bad about anything that I've done, you know? And like, then on the other hand as well, like there's people that only want to take accountability for everything, even for the things that like, you know, that they shouldn't be like held accountable for. And that as well, like it's a bad thing. But like at the end of the day, what you want is like a balance. You want to know, when am I holding myself accountable? When am I saying like, okay, cool, right now this is probably not on me, or like not everything in the situation is on me. These are the things that I could have done better, but like these were things that were outside of my control, you know? And like this example that you gave as well of like being able to look at things like in a positive way. This is literally what like positive psychology is about.
Right.
It's literally that.
What like also is, it always makes, I'm not religious at all, but there's a religious quote that's like, God grant me the serenity to change the things I can change, accept the things I can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference. Which is like, that's like a life motto, like
100%.
It's like, can I change this or can I not? The first thing is like, I need to know whether I can or can't change it. If I can't change, like if it is the judge doesn't like me, that might be realistic, but okay, fuck it, there's nothing I can do, so 100%. I just got to dance my best. 100%. Can I change this? Oh, this person's a decent popper, but I think I might be better. That's something I can affect. I can dance my best. I mean? Yes. So then it's like making that decision. Can I change this? Can I not? And then accepting it and being like, maybe today the judges voted against me because they don't like me. Well, no need to get angry about it then, because what could I have done?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, sometimes like it's never about like about perfection, in the sense that like you don't want to be feeling bad for like feeling a specific way.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because like in the same way you said, like there was a lot of things that I was struggling with, you know, that like where I realized, yo, like you're upset about so much stuff. Like how are you going to make this like better? You know? So for me, like the aim started becoming to like minimize the amount of times that I would be feeling that way and maximize the times in which I feel like, okay, cool. Like I'm in control of this. And even if like things are not really going my way, I'm capable of getting myself out of that, you know? But that doesn't mean that like when you're feeling like that, you know, like, okay, it's a bad thing. No, you just don't want to constantly feel like that.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Right. Or I guess like decouple the self one and self two. So like my self one is in a bad mood today. That doesn't mean it needs to affect myself two in that way.
100%, exactly. Like, you know, if your self one is like, or you're in a space where your mind is just not capable of like, you know, serving you in the right ways.
Yeah.
And like when you're thinking about it, this is also the reason why like a lot of guys, right, men, like they go out and like when we're feeling a certain type of way, we want to be active. We want to go for a run. Right. We want to like play football. We want to play basketball. You know, like we want to like do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is part of the reason why. You know, and like so, there's always something that can be done. Of course, then again, that needs to be managed because if you're doing that to avoid like speaking on specific things,
you're decoupling it too much, and then you're just pushing that to the back of the
exactly. And at some point, it will come out. You know, the things that you're running from will come out if you
literally
don't face them. Like,
you know, you're literally going for a job to avoid.
100%, exactly. So you know, like,
right.
So it's just again like it goes back to this thing that I was talking about earlier, like self-awareness, knowing like, you know, okay, why am I doing this now? Why am I feeling like this right now? You know, what in this situation, this is
causing me
exactly.
this. Right. Yeah, because I guess that is the thing. It's like, this is making me think about myself a lot, but like in the sense of, okay, can you decouple the bad mood enough to get the job done, right? It's like, I'm in a bad mood and I need to battle. I'm in the finals. Yeah. All right. Get rid of that for this 2 minutes, do the job. But then can I go after and think, why am I in a bad mood? What upset me? And deal with that. And if there's one that's lacking, if the bad mood always makes you dance shit, that's no good. But then if you always dance well, but you never process your problems, you're unhealthy as well.
That's the thing. And this is exactly what I mean when I say like there's a time to think and there's a time where like you just do, you know, and like especially like when we're talking about the idea of dancing, like exchanging, you know what I'm saying? Like the moment you do, you do. The moment you start thinking is the like, or it's not even thinking, it's reflecting. It's the moment when you step out or like you step back.
You can't process while you're...
Exactly. Because like the moment, you got to imagine that like your mind is not like, or consciously, right? Your mind is not capable of thinking fast enough unless you're like, this is when we're talking about the flow state and stuff like that. So like we could argue about this, but like generally speaking, like your mind is not going to be fast enough to be processing and like efficiently like doing something in the moment, in the heat of the moment. Hence why when you do, you do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, the more you allow yourself to just do, the more like, again, your mind, you're also allowing your mind to just see things for what they are because you're just focused on the doing part, but your mind is still taking information in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even like as we're talking right now, like there's things that both like you and me know in terms of like this space. We know that there's not 100 people here, you know, which is like, it sounds silly to like bring up, but this is information that we have.
Right. Know? So we're constantly processing these things and it's feeding into how we're behaving.
100%, right. You know, and this is also the reason why like when I brought up this example right now, I was able to like incorporate that thought or that knowledge in what I was saying.
Because you are aware enough and you are processing enough.
Exactly. Right. You know, and the same thing happens when we're dancing, that we're still aware enough. Like the moment like we let go of something, you know what I'm saying? This specific thing very often becomes more accessible to us, you know?
Okay, how do you mean on that?
As in like, very often again, like it's kind of like with habits, you know, or with like also with thought patterns. Very often like we don't want to be letting go of a specific something, whether this is a movement pattern, whether this is like, you know, specific moves that we have, but like the moment you start like letting go of it, mentally speaking, you know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like you allow,
I think I know what you mean,
you allow your mind to like work with the attention in a way that like, okay, I know that this thing is still there. And like I'm not holding on to it like this, right? Like firmly, which allows me to do a lot of other stuff, right? But I still know that like if I want to go there, I can go there.
I think I see. So my analogy that is put into my head is like I still now, but like often not as much now, but like I used to struggle a lot to dance cypher or battle or train to songs that I really know well, like rap songs that I know every single fucking word to, all the ad libs, everything, because all I can think about is kill every single part of the song, and my dance became shit. I was just doing karaoke, right? So then it's like I would get overwhelmed and be like, I know all the stuff, but how do I do it and what do I do? Whereas if I don't think about it, which is kind of what I do now, where I'm like, I just dance and like let that be secondary almost. I'll end up dancing way better to the music because I do have this knowledge of the song, but if I'm not forcing it to like be present and just letting it flow, then I can come to it when I need it. Is that kind of the same?
Definitely. Like, and like you actually like gave a really, really good example of that. Like when you, like, I remember when you was being like, when you was at OSA.
Yeah.
Right. And like, you was talking about the filler moves. You was talking about the filler moves, and like the reason why people do filler moves is because it's almost like they're preparing themselves for something that comes later, and like, you know, they want to like execute that specific something. So like they do like something where like, okay, I don't need to think about this. I'm just in automatic mode. Filler now.
Here's the thing I was leading up to.
Exactly. Right. But like if this thing that you're leading up to, like, or that like you have available to yourself, you know what I'm saying, is not something that you're looking forward to like in a very like firm and like stiff way, you know, and you just actually constantly try to do something, there's going to be this moment where your mind learns to do this thing of like, now. Yeah. It tells you, now you should be doing this without you having like, you know, decided, okay, this is when.
Got you. It'll come a lot more naturally, even if it's pre-programmed in a way.
You know what I'm saying?
This is, I think, one of my favorite things about Brooke.
Yeah.
Is like,
for sure.
Because
I hear that.
And I think I always said this, and Brooke, if you're listening, I think he should teach, you know how I do structure and presentation?
Yes.
Or like something like that, like not a style-based class. I think Brooke should teach the art of using pre-made moves in organic rounds, because the way he does these things is like, a lot of the stuff that he has is, if you've seen him battle over years, is like, it is pre-made stuff, and he's got sets, and we spoke about it when he was on the pod a long time ago. But he delivers it in a way that feels organic. It doesn't feel like, oh, you plan to do that there. He just hits it. And it's like, there's got to be something in that. And I don't even know his mentality with how, as I say, I'd take a workshop of like him teaching us, right, come up with a move. Here's how you're going to, you know, whatever the thought process is. But there's something when you can tell when people throw in a pre-made move, and it just is like, I even notice it when I do it. And it's like, that felt forced. You know, I just threw that in because it fit there, or I wanted to do a blow up move.
Yeah.
Whereas like you get some people, Lee from the Ruggeds, or like even like Brooke or people like that, where you know some of this is pre-made, but it doesn't feel like it. Like it just comes at the right time. And
but see, it's because like that also like is a psychological quality, like timing. You know what I'm saying? Understanding timing. But like understanding timing like requires you to understand like what the timing is based on. And for us, it's based on the music. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But like, so like when we are now wanting to work on timing, like there needs to be a basic understanding of music. Yeah. And again, like this is for me what, like, and I'm going there right now, but this is for me like what as well is very wrong about like, you know, the scene, and like not only the UK scene, but like just generally speaking, this thing that like, again, there's a very technical and physical emphasis of things, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And again, that is good because like, again, these visuals are important, you know, and like the foundation will always be important. But like we've gotten to a point now where like we've been training the technique so much. We've been training like our bodies, physically speaking, so much. Like we are seeing crazy things happening at like a physical level. But like how often like have you got somebody explaining the concept of timing in regards to like, you know, music, you know, in regards to the things that you're actually doing. So like the content. Yeah. Almost never will you have anything like that. And this is what like I believe like is really like missing. You know what I'm saying? And like some people excel at it because of the way they think. And then we're looking at it and it's almost like we're not really realizing why like you like are capable of analyzing that and being like, oh yeah, this is what like, you know, one of the things that makes Brooke great. Some people just see it and it's like, oh yeah, this is just amazing, but they can't even tell you like what makes Brooke amazing. You know what I'm saying? And
I think even like what you're saying on the timing and the understanding of music, it's like the thing that I talk to people about when I haven't really done I've done some bits of this in a workshop, but of like this idea of using pre-made stuff in a battle is that when I've done like, let's say like coaching sessions or whatever, it's like what the other thing that makes someone like Brooke so amazing, right, is that every set or move that you have, I'm going on this tangent because it might be interesting for people at home, but like, I know you know this, but like every set or move that you have, any like pre-made thing, any trick or blow up, has an emphasis point in it, right? There's one moment that is the moment, right? It might have stuff before and after, but there's one, it's the switch of the legs, or it's the hit, or it's the arc of the backflip, or whatever it might be, right? And you have to understand where that needs to line up with the music, right? So is the emphasis point, for example, let's say a backflip, because it's the easiest thing, right? You have the prep where you bend, you have the lift, you have the part where your feet go upside down and the people have like understood this is a backflip. That's where I would count as maybe the emphasis point. Then you have the part where you straighten up and then you land, right? Now, if there's a 5, 6, 7, 8, where do I want what part of the backflip on what part of the music? Do I want the emphasis to be on 5, 6, 7, 8, and as I go upside down, we hear that clap? Or do I want it to be where I land? So it goes, now it's 5, 6, 7, land on 8. And the finish is the emphasis point. So it's also on like your understanding of what part of the trick you want to highlight, or where is the emphasis point when you're building the trick. But also on the music, and not only on the music and understanding what part you want to hit, but also how many counts it's going to take you to get there, right? So it's like, for example, like, and I don't want to make it all about myself, but because we're talking about psychology, it's easier to explain my thinking. I have a move at the end of that popping round that I'm talking about, right? Where it's like 1 and 2 and 3. It's weird timing because I never finished it. I got lazy, and it's like, I'm like, I feel like this shouldn't be 1 and 2 and 3, right? And there's a bit in this, you know, the shake your pants, like there's a bit where it goes shake, 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 clack, right?
Okay, I see it now.
So I knew in my head, and this is like part of the decision making, which comes naturally because I've been battling for a while and I know my stuff because I don't make anything new. But is that I know that this is 1 and 2 and 3. And I'm like, right, that's it, kind of an incomplete trick. And if it hits something in the music like a ta 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 ta, it's good. But if it's a finishing point, it's not good. But what I had to decide in that moment is I'm going to do shake, 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 hold it there. And then on the 4, I'm going to hit. And luckily I know the song enough to know it's not just shake, 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 shake. It's shake, 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 snare. So I knew, all right, if I add a hit, that is going to be a strong ending moment. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, right? And it's like, that is something that like, I think this is kind of what we're saying, where it's like, that's something that is more like, oh, cool, you hit the music, but like to understand the phrasing, the way the song is going to end, and that is a good point to finish my round at, is like, that's all those skills coming in, and you have to be present to know, because when I started the track, the round, I forgot that was the ending point. But as I'm dancing, I'm thinking, oh, fuck yeah, that shake, shake, shake thing. And then I'm thinking, what moves do I have that fit? It could have been one of 7 moves, but in my head, I had to process that was the best thing to do. You know what I mean?
100%.
All the while knowing I was still going to lose. So you still have to decouple that, like, oh yeah, I'm going to lose, from the fact of like, all right, there's all these decisions that I still need to do. You know?
100%. But that's the thing. And like, you know, this is what we're talking about, the complexity of dance and the complexity of performance. Because when you're looking at everything that you're describing right now, right, there's like a physical layer to that. There's a technical layer to that, right? There's like a conceptual layer to that in regards to the music. And there's a psychological layer to that.
Right.
Now, the problem is that like when people like are unaware of like one of these or 2 of these, or sometimes even 3 of these, you know, like it's like there's not many decisions that you can be making. You will still make decisions though. And that like is what like it doesn't reduce the value of the dance, but like it reduces like what the dance can become. It reduces the potential of the dance, you know definitely. What I'm saying? And like people need to be tuning into that, you know, and like drawing these things together. But again, like it's really like something that like is not happening a lot, you know. And that's why like I look at like many people and I'm like, yeah, you're good, but like you're not more than good. You're not more than good, because like without like paying attention to these things, you will never understand why here you should be doing this, 100%. Or why here you have got the opportunity of doing that. Yeah, you know. And like, of course, this is also the reason why, like, you know, like people need guidance as well, like because somebody is going to like be able to break this idea down for them. But like it's just something that is not happening much at this point in time, you know.
Yeah, I guess it's also like the more you know your craft, the more you can, like you said, make those artistic decisions. Or and it's like sometimes when I first started doing filming and stuff like that, like I would research or like learn stuff on like either YouTube or wherever about just. I was like, at some point, I was like, how does a camera work? I was like, I don't know what it, like, I know all the technical settings. I know what this does. I know what this does. I know what frame this. But like, actually the mechanics of like, how does light come in? There was a point where I didn't know what that meant. Like, I was like, I know what, technically if I change the shutter speed, this effect happens, but I don't know mechanically what's happening and how it's affecting the light, how that's being recorded and why we have a picture at the end of it. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. So I was like, I need to know this, not because I have a specific reason, but it has to affect my decision making at some point.
100%.
Of like, do I understand the mechanics of a camera? There's people that I've worked with that don't know certain things about cameras or editing. And they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, how can you not know, like, you know, this thing? Because I'm like, it's so... again, it's like, I guess what you're talking about is like a dancer not understanding music. And it's like, how can you... I think as a dancer, if anyone, you have to be a connoisseur of music. You have to understand as much as a producer because you're... I don't know. It's like a drummer not understanding rhythm. It's like a guitarist not understanding chords, or I don't know, whatever. It's like it's part of our. It's essential to what we do.
100%. But like this is also the reason why I say like most like dancers and like they're like football fans. You know these football fans that go like, oh yeah, like this player is so shit. Like why is our coach playing like pure emotion?
Have no
and,
idea.
You know, there's just feeling. There's just feeling speaking. You know, but like, there's layers to this. You know what I'm saying? And this is also something that I had to understand when I was playing football at the time. Right. I was fast. I was technically good. You know, but like I was never really like excelling apart from like at random moments. And like, this is what I mean in dance as well. Like these random moments, you know, like when I was excelling at football, it's because like things came together and I made the right decision based on like the abilities that I had, you know, and I timed again, these abilities right. And it allowed me to produce a moment of magic, you know what I'm saying? But like even when you're talking about the camera, like you're talking again about like a physical, like, you know, like technical idea, you know what I'm saying, which again like allows you to like, and you will know better than me, but I'm sure that at some point, because you understood the technicality of a camera, the way like cameras actually function, you know, like you are able to make a decision of like, okay, normally like with a camera you wouldn't be doing this, but right now it might work because, and that again is a decision, you know. But like it's this thing where like you're capable of making this decision because you draw understanding together. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're not able to do that in dance, again, you become like a football fan that is just speaking pure emotion. Oh yeah, this person should have won. And it's like, yeah, should have? Why?
Yeah, right. They have no ability. Bro. And I think, I mean, with dance and art, I guess also like where I would argue that there's only a certain level of like objectivity that we can get to ever with this stuff. Like there's still always going to be some subjective
of course.
application. But what I think is interesting is like being able to have a deep explanation or reasoning into why you think the way you think is one of the main qualities of being a judge, because
100%.
You can have all the system and have anything you want, but if someone goes, oh, why did that person win against that person? The main thing we need is for you to have a deep breakdown. And it could be that like me and you, and this is why I get in so many arguments and debates with people, but like, is that me and you might completely disagree on who won a battle. Completely.
100%.
But if I can argue fully and deeply, hopefully you're going to be like, okay, I can see where you're coming from.
100%.
If I go, oh, some bullshit, like, oh, the feeling, or, oh, I don't know, I just thought they were better. But if I can give you all my reasons, like I had so many debates with Clara on this because we think a lot differently about battles.
Yeah.
But
Same
it's like,
actually,
right. And she'll say something and I'm like, no, I think this. And she's like, no, because of this. And it's like, neither of us are like going, well, hopefully, it's like you don't understand. We're saying you just believe something different. And that's the debate, isn't it? And that's why I think it's easier to have, and I find it fun. I love debating with people about this stuff, but it's like
100%.
We're debating belief systems as opposed to we're debating because you are stupid.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean?
100%. But that's the thing as well. Again, like, you know, because essentially speaking, especially like, well, like it's more in the stand-up scene now than it is in the breaking scene. It's still there though, like in the breaking scene as well, of course. But like, the thing is that like when we are like judging, like if you're using a different system which like is based on a belief system that you have, and I'm using a different system which is based on a different belief system, so we're looking at different qualities, then like again we are capable of having a conversation, right? And we are capable of saying like, well, if we understand, we're capable of saying, well, like because you look at these things, I understand why you would vote
think exactly.
Right? But like on the other hand, it's like if we are now arguing like pretending like we are like judging based on the same belief system, when in reality we are not, we are missing the point.
And this infuriates me about arguments. When I hear two people going back and forth and I'm like, right, can we stop?
Yeah.
Do you think that this is the case? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, you don't think that's the case? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, then now you're not on the same level. Like, you need to find the common, exactly. You're missing the point. And this is like 100%. So many arguments or debates between people. It's like, you're starting the argument from a place of misunderstanding. So there's no way you're going to ever link up. If we say, you know, I believe that this is more important than this, and you're like, well, I disagree. I'm like, okay, well then anything I say from here on outwards, you're not going to agree with, because I'm basing all of my opinion on that, you know? Exactly. And I think the other thing with that, which is interesting, is like when people talk about judges being biased, or like, oh, in France, they vote for French people, or, oh, that's someone's student, so they're going to vote for them. Yeah. I think sometimes that is the case, that someone literally just in their head goes, 100%. He's English, I'm going to vote the English person. But I think more often than not, people, their belief systems like come from a cultural perspective, right? So if you're in England, a lot of what we value, let's say London, a lot of what we value is shared. We value a certain type of dance, a certain way of dancing, right? I was just talking about this the other day, but like, let's say, I don't know, in like Japan or Korea, it might be the discipline aspect of like, how much have you drilled this? How much have you whatever done this? Whereas in the States, it might be the personality. I don't care how technically good you are if I don't feel who you are, right? And it's like different, and that's like a cultural thing, you know?
For sure.
And I think when it comes to like judging, sometimes what people are voting for is not necessarily their friend, but is their belief system. For sure. I believe, 100%. And that's what's really hard, because you might think you're being a good judge, and often you might be being a good judge actually, but you're like, right, I've based this whole decision on these 5 factors and blah, 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 and this is what I value in the dance, and this is how I think the dance should be done or whatever. And you vote for that person, but not because they're your friend, but because they mirror your belief system, because you've trained together. So you both believe and grew up, and you know what I'm saying? So it's hard to say, oh, they only vote for them because they're from this. It's like, no, but it might be that, you know, a lot of people in Paris would share the same belief system about popping. So then if it's a Parisian judge and I'm battling them, they're going to see something that they believe is more correct than what I'm doing. And this is what's hard with the subjectivity of dance. You know?
Definitely. No, definitely.
As long as, even if there is a system, you're always going to feed into that your perspective. You know,
but like that's the thing, you know, this is the reason why like systems are important, so that like we are capable of talking about the system. But like if we like, again, we don't talk about the system, not about your system, not about my system, and again like we're then making assumptions. You know what I'm saying? Like we're never going to get anywhere. And that is I mean this is one of the, like, you know, the huge problems in judging right now as well, especially like in my opinion, like in stand-up dance, you know? So
I think on that it should be like, every pod, people that listen all the time will know I always blame event organizers for everything. But I think organizers should be given a criteria minimum. Like, it doesn't have to be a system. Like what we did at the Nike battle, there wasn't a system in the sense of sliders or this or that. There was a criteria. Like, this is the categories I want you to look at, because it's an all-styles battle, and there's not one way of judging an all-styles battle. And the concept was based on the music. So I gave them a criteria of like, this is what I want you to look at. Then what you have to do in your head is weigh that up in your own way to make a decision. But bare minimum, we have a criteria of, if someone says, why did I lose? The judges can point to these 3, I think it was 4 categories that we gave. And that was based on technically my belief system of how I think all styles battles should be judged. Fair. But I think as an event organizer, that's the best thing you can do. It's like, and then 100%. We can, then I forgive each event being a little bit different. If I go to one event and all 3 judges judge differently, and I win 2 votes for one reason and then lose another vote for something, that doesn't make as much sense. But if like, you know, okay, if I come to this battle, at least all 3 judges are judging the same way. If I go to the next battle, it might be judged differently, but within each event, it's judged consistently. I think that's at least bare minimum.
You know what I'm saying? But like, these are the things where, like, again, it can get super, super frustrating, man. It can get super, super frustrating, because a lot of people are not like, you know, are not willing to change. You know what I'm saying? And like it's that's another bias in itself, like planned continuation bias. You know?
Is that like you've spent so much time doing something, you don't want to change it,
like,
kind of thing?
It's almost like we stick to the same plan, because a lot of people, like, they're actually aware of that. Like now we've spoken about it a couple of times, but like you're confronted with new information, but like you're still sticking to the old plan just because it's easy,
comfortable.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's been what is there, like has been there, and like and that's why we're sticking to the same plan. So like it also like makes it difficult, like in something that is like, you know, when we're talking about culture, like hip hop is culture. Culture like is dynamic by nature, which means that it will change.
Yeah,
it will change, especially because like there's certain things that like, you know, we are not speaking about. Right, but like again, we can have conversations, which means that we are also capable of like somewhat directing the dynamics, you know, of that culture that we find ourselves within.
Yeah.
And for these conversations to not be happening, or for people to like be so like static and like, you know, unwilling to change, when again our culture is all about changing, is very, very problematic, man. And like it creates a lot of the problems that we have in the scene, you know. Like down to like, and again, I know that this is also like going very like far now, but like to like, you know, looking at like the position of women in the scene and like all these things, you know, like the male dominance, all of these things like are part of that as well. Like the things that we are not willing to recognize, the things that we're not willing to talk about, like, and like, it will create more problems in the future. You know what I'm saying? Problems that again, that we are like perpetuating right now, you know? So yeah,
I hear that. Okay, so back to the performance psychology stuff.
Yes.
Can you give me, in your opinion, some of the most like common issues for battlers? Like what are things that most people or a lot of people are not doing right, are messing up, are getting wrong, are not understanding? Like, is there stuff that we could be like, this is like basic, before you even get into the other stuff, let's, you know, focus on these type of things?
Okay, like, well, there's a lot. There's a lot, you know. Again, like we already touched on one, which is like understanding the four layers of performance.
Okay, which are
physical layer, technical layer, conceptual layer, and the psychological layer.
Okay.
The ones that are really, really important to understand for where we are at this point in time are the conceptual layer and the psychological layer.
Can you, just before we continue, can you just quickly break down the four of what they mean?
Yeah, 100%. So like when we're talking about, 100%. When we're talking about the physical layer, right, essentially we're talking about like movement. We're talking about everything that like you're physically capable of doing, independent of like looking at like techniques, which would be the next layer. So like what I'm talking about would be like physical understanding, right? And physical capacity. What are you physically capable of doing with your body, right?
Yeah.
And like, to what extent do you understand physical like movement?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Now, like once we like, I always start with that one because that is like
base level.
Exactly, the base level. We move our bodies. Then from there, like we're talking about techniques. Techniques is where like we start to talk about the foundation, right? Which essentially speaking, a technique is a pattern. Right, it's a pattern that has been put together, like very often in dance, like from physical like movements, physical movements that have been put together, and that we now call like, oh yeah, that's the Fresno. Oh yeah, this is the loose legs. This is the running man. This is, you know what I'm saying? All of these things. So this is what the technique represents. Yeah. Now, like when we're talking about like the conceptual layer layer is essentially like your ability to think about the dance. Right, or like it's abstract ideas. A concept is an abstract idea, right? Which means when we're talking about like musicality is something that like we express, right? But like it's something that you can only see through the physical and the technical layer, if that makes sense.
Yes.
As in like the moment I create the visuals of it, right? So it's something that like always happens. So I always say that there's like a couple of like major conceptual notions, right? You've got like musicality. You've got dynamics. Yeah. You've got like, wait, what is it? Damn. Forgetting. Composition. Yeah. Right? Use of space and flow. These are things that like, whether you want to or you don't want to, you will always express that in your dance.
Got you.
You know, or like you will always express your understanding of it or your lack of understanding of it. You know what I'm saying?
So it's something that, like, for example, I'm trying to think of something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like anytime you move, those things come into play.
Exactly.
Whether or not you want them to. So it's something that you almost can't escape from.
Exactly. And there might even be more. These are the 5 that I usually focus on.
Yeah, like I don't know if you would include this in any one of your thing, but let's say for dance battles, it's like, I always think the audience is one. It's like, no matter whether you want to or not, there's an interaction with the audience. So if you ignore them, that's a choice. Like you've chosen to not engage with the audience and vice versa, you know, like what we were saying about Jimmy.
Now, for example, what I would be saying is that like the audience is part of the psychological factor. Because the audience, like, you know, like this is like, depends on your like awareness. You're making choices based on the audience, you know, but this is where you start to interact with the environment more than like you're like interacting with the dance itself, if that makes sense. That,
yes.
Like at the physical, technical level, and like, you know.
Yeah, but would you not argue that, like, would you not say that by standing on stage, there's or immediately a relationship with the audience, no matter what you do?
100%.
Right.
Like, I would still just say that, like, it is not the dance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's more the surrounding factors.
Because, like, for example, all the other factors still matter. Like, whether you're in your room by yourself and there's no one there, you know what I'm saying? Like, these things will still be, like, you know, prominent, whereas, like, the audience suddenly, like, falls away. You know what I'm saying?
So it's the thing that, like, I guess even if you were to take away the music, the other ones there's still composition,
100%.
there's still dynamics, right?
100%.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and then there's the psychological one, you know, and the psychological layer is like essentially that, like, that's the one that I would say is broadest.
Okay.
In the sense that like we're talking about personality, right? So like your qualities essentially. We're talking about like experience.
Yeah.
Right. Then we're talking like, and when I'm talking about experience, I'm talking about the experiences that you went through that then shaped the way you started dancing, you know what I'm saying? Or the way you lived life, basically, right? Then we're talking about cognitive abilities, which is like anticipation, decision-making, problem-solving, composure, like all these things, you know? Like, well, composure, we could also say that this is like, it can be part of like personality as well. There's some that you could argue on, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But like, or argue about. And then the last thing is essentially like how you draw the other 3 elements together, or all these 4 elements, you know what I'm saying? Which means that like, even if you and me, like we were to be built physically exactly in the same way, you know what I'm saying? Because I am me and you are you, like our dances would still be different. You know what I'm saying? There might be like a lot of similarities.
Yeah, like your preferences, the things that you experience.
Exactly.
Like, right.
All of these things, you know what I'm saying? So like, these are kind of like these are the things that define the psychological layer.
And is that specific to art, those differences? Or I guess not, like you'd play basketball differently if you were 2 different people.
100%.
Right.
You make different decisions. Like all of this right now, like this is not even like, you know, performance psychology. This is like, well, it is performance psychology, but it comes from like it's a sports psychological model.
Okay.
You know, the only thing that I did, right, or that I always do when like I'm talking about it within the context of arts, I replace I talk about the conceptual notion, whereas in sports, this is where you would have the tactical notion.
Okay. So for us, it's creating as opposed to trying to beat someone, I guess.
Well, essentially, like,
is that problem solving in that way?
Like in a sense, but like it's almost like, again, like when you're playing chess, for example, right? Like there's different openings that you can have, right? But like once you understand the purpose of the openings, like you're capable of like doing it, like playing it in a different way because you understand what you're actually trying to achieve. And it's the same thing. Like now, when we're talking about something like sports, once you understand like the strategy or the tactics of the game, you know what I'm saying, of like your team, you understand why you're meant to be doing specific things. But like this is also the reason why like sometimes people are going to be saying that strategy is long term and tactics, you know, is in the moment, because obviously the opposing team also has got have got tactics that will throw your tactics off and that will require you to change. And if you understand that part, you know what I'm saying, like you are capable of changing without feeling like, well, now we can't do this thing anymore. Well, what can we do instead? And now when we're taking that into the context of dance, right, we're talking about this idea of like, okay, you understand music, you understand the basics of music, but because you understand the basic of music, you understand certain things that run, you understand certain things that wouldn't run. Like on a particular like track that you're dancing to, you know what I'm saying? And in the same way, like you understand that, okay, I have got certain musical tendencies. Whenever I dance to the music, I dance in this way. Right now, this song is showing me this. So it means that like it doesn't align. So what am I capable of doing? Because I understand music, I am like the concept of music,
and
right?
That's the psychological part?
No, this is the conceptual one.
Okay.
This is still the conceptual one. Of course, now the psychological part comes in the moment you start making decisions around that. You know what I'm saying? Right. So like this is where it kind of like, it's an overlap. Hence why like when you're thinking about it, like the physical and the technical, there's an overlap. Because the techniques only speak through the like
physical,
you know, exactly through the physical, and like between the conceptual and the like psychological, there's an overlap because like you are capable of making decisions around your understanding of the concepts based on who you are and how you understand specific things.
Right, I think I get what you mean. So, for example, with the first overlap of the physical and the technical, is like I might understand the technique of a hit, but if my muscles physically haven't been trained enough to do the hit well,
exactly.
I know a lot. There's a lot of times when I teach classes or whatever. Let's say if I teach you a hit, you might have the technique perfect, but it looks like shit because you're like, oh, I'm not doing it, and I'm like, you don't understand that you're doing it because you understand it. Exactly. Now your muscles need to catch up to be able to execute it. But it's too almost like that's the overlap of like the physical, and then I guess the conceptual and the psychological overlap might be me going, okay, I understand the music. The music feels dark and heavy, and it has a big heavy snare, and it's like this type of thing.
Exactly.
I'm gonna make the decision to dance in this way to suit that.
Exactly.
So it's like the concept is like understanding the music and being able to identify.
Exactly.
Psychological is, but what does that mean in real terms?
Exactly.
Okay.
What does that mean about the decisions that you're going to be making? Because you've got like, again, people that are capable of making decisions, but like they don't understand the concepts that they're making decisions based on. And this is where like, you know, where the conceptual layer falls like away, and you've just got the psychological layer, meaning that like I can make a decision and not know the structure of music.
Yeah.
You know, like I can decide, okay, I'm going to do this now, like to the music.
Yeah.
And like there might be something that like, you know, for example, like most of us understand, like, you know, because our brain has learned to understand it, to anticipate the drop in a song, whether we know the song or not. Very often we are very, very good, right, at like recognizing, oh, the drop is
like
coming.
There's like a swell and something,
Exactly. Now, like if you've got like a conceptual understanding, right, of music, you will understand when like the drop should be coming, right, based on like phrasing.
Yes, I've spoken about this with the structure workshops. Exactly. Of like, you understand first the structure of music, because let's say, especially in Western music, even more so in hip hop, if something's going to change in the song, it's going to happen on an 8 most of the time. If something's going to change structurally, if there's a little ad lib or there's a little tick tick in the background, that might happen on a 4 and or whatever.
Exactly.
If the drums are going to drop out or the drums are going to come back in, if they're going to add a layer of instrument, if this person's going to start singing, it's going to happen on an 8 or if you want to say it like that, an 8 or a 16 or a 32 or whatever. But even then, if you stretch the track, it's like, it's not a random 8. It's 8 8s since the start of the so if you keep this running clock in your head, you're like, right, it's not just random guessing when the next drop is going to be. It's like, this is the 8th 8 since I heard the chorus start. I bet there's a breakdown coming. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if you understand that, you're making these type of decisions.
So essentially, like, you've got more information to make your decisions based on. You know, so, and this is where like this overlap takes place. And now, like, going back to like, you know, the initial question that you asked is that like most people have got no like conceptual awareness whatsoever.
Meaning they don't understand, because it's not that they don't understand the techniques. They might understand how to do a hit.
Exactly.
Or how to jack or whatever it might be. But they're not, what is it that they're not understanding exactly?
Essentially, like, they don't understand like what the music is saying. They don't understand like, you know, what the possibilities are in regards to like the structure of the music that they're dancing to. They don't understand to what extent like let's say like the composition of their round, which means they just go and like they just go with how they feel. And again, your round is going to be having dynamics. But like, now are you like intentionally like building your round, you know what I'm saying, in a way that like makes it coherent, dynamically speaking? Or is it just happening randomly? Because you're still going to be listening to the music and sometimes you're capable of like matching that. But again, this is where like we're going back to this idea of random. And like dances that like don't have a conceptual understanding are like tend to be dances that like are very hot and cold. They can go like absolutely crazy, and then like another moment it's like, okay, cool, What's going on?
Also, why there's a good percentage of high-level dancers, sorry guys, who are terrible teachers. Because...
Exactly.
And there's people that are like maybe not as high level...
Exactly.
not as high-level dancers, but are great teachers. I'd put myself in that category. But like people that, you know, where it's like you can be amazing and not understand why you're so good. You're just like, I'm good because I just got success. And it's like, yeah, but was it a formula or was it just random? Like you said. But then there's people that it's like, even if they didn't achieve as much or whatever, they every step of the way, they've formulaically understood that. So then to take that and teach it to someone is very easy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So then it's not necessarily a higher level, but it's just there's a layer that they're missing, which is the conceptual understanding.
It's not like there's no hierarchy here.
Right.
You need all of these.
Because it could be the same as like if you don't understand any technique or you don't understand any physicality, but this is just one that's been underappreciated or underdeveloped in the scene.
Like again, like bro, like it makes when you're thinking about it, because it could have been the other way around. You know what I'm saying? Like in the sense that like
no one cares about the technique.
Exactly.
Right.
And like you've got certain places where the technique is going to be like less like prevalent. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool as well. But like we understand that like generally speaking, in the way we have like learned these styles today, you know what I'm saying? The fact that like we're going to universities, we've got like studios, we've got all these things, and like very like a lot of classes, and you and me, we spoke about that before, are based on like, okay, cool, I'm going to be teaching you this step today. I'm going to be teaching you this variation today. And then like all the people are taking from it is the variation. And of course, like some people dig a little bit deeper, but like very often, you know, and this is what I say as well to like people that want to teach as well, like you need to be thinking about the setting that you're teaching in. You need to be thinking about the content that you're going to be teaching, which again is the what. Then you need to be thinking about the delivery, you know, which is like how you're going to be like teaching it, you know, and then you need to be thinking about the learning experience that you're trying to provide. Because the thing is that like what like the class is about, you know, even like the topic, the subtopic, like it's not necessarily what people are going to be learning. And very rarely is that actually the case, that people are learning what the class like is about. But if they like they're learning what the class is said to be about, so a specific step, right? But like if they come in and they think all I'm going to be learning today is the loose legs, then this is all they're going to be taken away. So you need to be responsible for the fact that like a lot of people don't know how to learn. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that like, a lot of people need to be thinking about. But yeah, again, like when you're then talking about the dance, like in the way it has been today, we've learned it at the physical level, at the technical level, you know what I'm saying? Then like you in the UK, you're probably one of the first that started doing something where it's like, okay, I get you to think about the dance now. I get you to freaking think about the dance. I'm already assuming that like you are like physically like really good, technically really good. So let's now see like how we can make you better by thinking about like layers that like currently in our scene fall away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think I didn't come at it with that perspective. I came at it more from a like... it's a niche, like no one else is teaching this, so I'm going to teach it kind of thing.
100%.
But I think, and it's making me happy that more people are doing this type of thing now. I'm definitely not saying it's because of what I did, but like Special K did like a concepts and creativity workshop. Sheldon with his Tribeways just did like they did a whole battle workshop, but he's done a couple of other things that are like, I think he did a battle workshop was the main one. Who else did one that I saw? There was someone else that I wanted to shout out that did something that was like more of a conceptual thing. But it's like, I've said this for ages, right? Where I'm like, and this is where I think of it as professional development, as opposed, like you said, you're already assuming you're of a certain level, which most of us taking battle style workshops are. There's very few people that, you know, you go abroad to Just Taboo and there's workshops at who's traveling to Just Taboo to do then the workshop that isn't already a dancer? You know, maybe like, Just Taboo's a bad example, but like a lot of these battles.
You mean, like, I understand what you mean. Yeah,
and and also it's like, this may be controversial. I don't need to learn hip hop from Alex the Cage. I don't need to learn popping from MT Pop, right? Because this is in my opinion, because you're of a high enough level that you shouldn't be wasting your time teaching me the basics of a style, right? If I'm coming to, like, I can learn hip hop from a lot of people. Like, we kind of put which I think is good. We put an emphasis on teaching that it should be, like, you should take it seriously. However, the basics of a lot of these styles only take you to a certain level. After that, like you said, there's conceptual, there's fit. If 100%. I'm going to, and maybe this is very biased on my perspective, but me who I am, or me even, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, I got to a certain level of hip hop. I understand what hip hop is and how to do it. Cool. Yeah. First job done in a way.
Yeah.
If I'm going to Alex Sacage's class,
yeah,
I want to learn how to fuse floor work with hip hop, how to maintain a bounce and a rhythm within your floor work and not just execute breaking moves.
Yeah.
I want to understand how to use rhythm and that's what I want from you. If I go to Brooke's class, I don't want to learn. And again, like, I'm not saying they shouldn't teach these styles, but me as someone who's already somewhat of a professional, I don't want to learn the basics of popping from Brooke. I want to understand battle technique. I want to understand performance psychology. How have I never in 15 years seen Brooke look like he's in a bad mood during a battle? How has he, Nick as well? Yeah. However, how have you managed to be consistent in every round that I've watched for 15 years?
Yeah.
I'd pay for that, right? So then it's like,
yeah.
When I think, that's what I mean, is like, I think this is also, as much as it's a limit on, or maybe this is the reason why my frustration of, like, I've always thought we don't really have classes that are professional development classes. We have the best dancer in the world coming to teach a style that I can actually already do.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, it's one thing like when Little Buck came to teach Memphis Jerkin. I don't know anything about Memphis Jerkin. I want the basics of the style.
For sure.
If I've been doing hip hop for 10 years, I don't want you to teach me a bounce and then a running man. Like, you know what I mean? I think there's it also, maybe it's the reason, but I think people have this, I don't know if you saw the reel we put out last week from the pod, but that, like, I was saying that people, how did I say it? But like, people think that they need to learn more moves and more things.
Yes, I remember,
and sometimes it's like, it's you need to inject you in the dance, right? 100%. And I think if we
100%,
adjust it a little bit, it is that you need to inject the conceptual layer, and maybe that's why the classes aren't popping up, because people are missing this. If people understood that, like, I think people are almost like scared to say, I know how to do a style. Like, are there holes in my popping that are huge? Yes. Can I do popping? Yes. Can I do hip hop? Yes. Can I do house? Maybe not. But like, recognizing that I can do the style, there's more I can learn of the style. Of course, there's more foundations in hip hop that I can learn. There's more ways, there's more techniques, of course. But I can do the basics of the style. Now what we're talking about is conceptual. How do you apply
that's the thing.
What you can do? And that's, if there's no workshops for that,
all
you're doing is going, well, I need to go and learn the running man from Alex Sacage because I must be doing it wrong, because that's the only way to get better.
But that's the thing.
You know what I mean?
100%. But like, that's also like, when you're thinking about it, right? When we are going to like, an event, right, that like is of a like high reputation, and like people are starting to ask for feedback, or like if they do, because some people like really don't want to do that, but like, you know, like how often like is the feedback that is being given actually related to the technique or like the way you physically dance the dance? Very often it's connected to like some conceptual idea, you know, that relates to your dance. And like, then now at this point in time, the only thing that the person, like a person can do is like, okay, cool, well, like I need to be guessing now. As in like, if I've never thought about this, I'm taking it on board, but like it's almost like the feedback, it's not like it doesn't mean anything, because it does, you know what I'm saying? But like it, like there also needs to be now again a psychological incentive for the person to go like, okay, cool, how do I train that? Because it is so specific.
Do we have? I'm just thinking for people. Like, do we have an example of what this, like? Give me how could we?
I can. Yeah. Like I'm gonna relate it to myself. Right. Back in 2015, like I met Brian Green.
Okay.
Right, and like it was at Street Star in Sweden. And like I passed the pre-selection, and like after the pre-selection, like he came to me, and like before the battle even like had started, right? And he pointed at me and he said to me like, "Oh, I see you're music boy," right? And for me at the time, I was like, okay, that was a compliment, but I don't know why he said that. Like I don't know what that means. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like then like and I'm going to come back to this in a second, right? But like then I did the battle, I lost in the first round, right? And it was a cypher battle, and two like dancers got through basically. And it was like that year, Mary Kay and Odile that got through in my cypher. And like after the battle, then I like was like, you know what? Let me ask for like feedback. I went up to Brian Green, and he said to me like, you're really good, but like you need to, when you're being smooth, what is it that you're actually saying? Right. And for me, it was like, at the time, I was like, what does that mean? You know, but like now I'm understanding that like what he was saying was that like, okay, cool. You like change your texture, right, of the dance, you change your energy, but like it happens randomly. You know, and that like affects the dynamics, that affects like, you know, the way you are going to be delivering certain like, you know, like foundations or moves or like, you know, patterns. But like, because it happens without thought, I'm just doing it at the physical and the technical level, you know what I'm saying? So like the moment he asked me that question, I had to sit with that question for a long time and be like, what am I trying to say when I'm smooth? And like, the thing is that like my answer to that was like, well, nothing. And that was the problem.
Right. You're not, there's no intention behind what you're doing, which is the conceptual level.
Exactly.
Right.
It was just like, well, it looks good. You know what I'm saying? Or it feels good.
Which
like,
is, so, I guarantee what you're saying right now, a lot of people listening resonate with that.
You know
like, oh, it just feels good. I just did it because it looked cool, as opposed to what effect are you trying to create.
And the thing is that like, nobody is saying that like you shouldn't be feeling good when you're dancing. Of course, but you can feel good and be effective.
Yes.
That's the thing. And a lot of people just like, you know, they're just fine with feeling good, which is like absolutely fine. Right. But then don't go complaining when you lose battles. And don't go complaining when like things are not going your way. You know what I'm saying?
And sometimes it feels good because it's effective. Like I've always said this, like one of my favorite moves in the whole of dance is the hit in popping, because it's
I understand it.
Oh, a heavy snare when you, even when you watch it or when I do it. Like I was watching a video of Fireback training last night. His hits are, I mean, it definitely like the lighting from above and like it all affects it, but just watching a crispy hit on a heavy snare for me is like, mwah. you know, it's like seeing a beautiful woman. No, pause. But you know what I mean? But it's like, you know, when you like, I love that. And it's like, because it's effective, it's achieving exactly the effect that it's supposed to achieve. And I think sometimes like I feel like that when I'm like popping or whatever. Let's say if I just start banging hits, like let's say like this is again like to use as an example, like a blessing and a curse, like right, or not blessing, it's like a positive and negative, right? Sometimes I have a bit like of a problem, like if we're getting into details, like when I'm popping, I focus too much on the hit because I'm in my head, it's not comfortable yet because I just don't train enough. So I focus on like bang a hit, bang a hit, bang a hit. And in my head, I'm thinking, hit as hard as you can, hit as hard as you can. The problem with that is it doesn't sit naturally in my dance and it takes away all the other elements of what I'm doing. So what you see is basically just someone focusing on trying to hit where someone else will have the exact same, I don't even have that hard of a hit for someone that's focusing on that. So you'll get someone like Brooke who will, without even thinking, hit as hard as me. And what he's doing with the hit looks good, right? That's when it doesn't work. When it does work is when the snare is the most prevalent part of the, and it's even let's say there's a breakdown where it just becomes about the snare in the track and that rises to the top. Then when I do this same thing where I'm trying to hit my hardest, it looks good because I'm trying to, it looks like I'm trying to make the point of, I'm trying to highlight the snare in the same way the music is, right? In a way, that's something that I know is a downfall of mine, but I can make that choice to only do it when it's going to work, if that makes sense. And I guess this is the intention, but it doesn't have to even be that you're good at everything. It's just having intention and conceptual understanding
100%.
Of all of this stuff.
100%. Because again, like it's like, you know, and like you can relate that to like, once you have that, you can relate that so easily to like the idea of the physical element or the like, you know, technical element. Because even within what you're saying right now, like this idea of like a lot of people in popping, I'm not a popper, but like what I'm seeing is that a lot of people in popping don't even understand the idea of like, you know, like adjusting the hit, you know, because like you've got some people that like are more like, a lot of Asian people do that, right? Where like they like to hit from 0 to 100. Everything shakes. And it's like, whoa, like it becomes so powerful. Then you've got somebody like, I think like the first person that comes to mind is like an Iron Mike. An Iron Mike, right? Like where it's like he's got a base level of tension, which means that he's maybe already at 60% in terms of his tension and then hits from like 60 to 100, which doesn't create the same effect. But like if you don't understand that, you know, you don't even understand like, okay, like how do I hit? How do I want to hit? You know what I'm saying? Then you just become a slave to like the idea of hitting, and you might not be hitting in a way that like actually like suits you. And again, having this conceptual understanding now also allows you to be like, you know what? Maybe I can even change that in accordance with the music. Oh, this sound is like, oh, this sound is like this. Like the idea of like when you hit on the snare, like it's different from hitting on the kick.
And you can even, something that I try and do again is like my technique doesn't live up to. I think if I'm strong anywhere, I think I'm strong in the conceptual element of dance.
100%.
My physicality and my technique doesn't always live up to it, but I think that is something I would like say that I
definitely
am better at. But
I can hear that. I can see that in your dance, bro.
And even like say with like what you're saying with hits, it's like, oh, now that you're saying this, like, I'm able to like rationalize how I dance sometimes. But like, I've often thought of like, okay, when there's a more loose snare of doing not such a tight hit, you don't have to do such a bang. Exactly. You can like let it like fade a little bit. You can always add a little fake reverb to it. And I think I've done that of like, okay, I can do a messy hit on an open snare or like a tighter hit on a clean snare. And that's like, you also recognize your weaknesses within that. But yeah, it's like when you have this element, and I think actually now that you're saying this is helping me to understand my life. But it's like, even with I don't know, with battles, with 2-on-2, there's been loads of times where I've won stuff that I had no business winning. I think in terms of just straight technique or whatever, or like it used to happen when I danced with Mus a lot. Like we used to do 2-on-2s. I'm like, we beat people in 2-on-2s that individually we have no business beating, but why are we able to do it? Because I think conceptually with the routines, with the commando, with the dynamics, with the, I mean, we grew up together, so our chemistry was on. So it's like you're doing an amazing round and an amazing round, but we're doing an amazing performance together, you know. And I think it's like understanding those things, and even like I was saying with that guy that I lost to, he's a better, if we go rounds and rounds and rounds of just popping, no performance, just cypher rounds, he's a way better popper than me, I think.
Fair play.
But I'm a good performer and I'm good conceptually. So I can keep up with people that it's like, I don't think, like I say no business keeping up with, but like as in based on pure technique and physicality, which we,
you know,
which we, I guess, like you said, we value. And I think even this is what I speak to people about in terms of battles is like, all right, someone might be way better than you at the thing, or might be way, this is also an advert for my battle technique workshop at the Jam Festival.
Be there.
But like someone could be better than you at the technique, they could do more flares than you, blah, blah, but there's still ways to beat them. And even if it's...
That's the thing, bro.
Yeah, it's like, even if it's before or after the battle or whatever, it's like you can, which this is the part of battling I love as well, but it's like getting in people's heads or getting in the audience's head or getting in the judge's head of like, like, for example, this is really shitty to say that I did this, but it's like, I'll do stuff that I know no one cares about, but the judge will see me do, right? Like I've done I'm like debating to say this.
Come on, bro.
No, it's not bad, but it's like, for example, it's like, if we understand it's all psychological and like whatever, it's not my job to make the judge be fair, right? I do what I do. You deal with the fairness, right?
100.
I've battled people before where I thought they bit like either the twins or like their style was based on YouTube basically. And I've done it where I know no one's looking except for the judges, and I would go like this and like just do the criminal sign, and I'm like, I know you saw that, and I know now you're looking and seeing that I think this person dances like they should be in the criminals because they're biting this. So now I'm like, I'm just putting that psychological thing in your head.
100%, bro. Like,
or it's like I'll do something to the like we always laugh about the time when I battled Zach and Isaiah, and I didn't know who they were. And remember we were talking, and you were like,
"Oh, I remember that."
We were laughing about that so much because I thought I'd never met them before, so I thought they weren't from the UK because they were good, and I didn't know them, so I was a bit like, "How do I not like you're really good?" So then I was like, and I always have a thing of like, if you're a visitor to the UK and you're battling me, I'll go first. It's like a respect thing of like, I'm at home, I should feel comfortable. I got it. Yeah. So that's why I'm always like, and like I did it when I battled T-Boy. I was like I'm at home, I'll go first. Not in a disrespectful way. Like I own this place. I'm like, no, you're a guest here. Let me go first.
100%.
Anyway, long story short, we were waiting to go first and I didn't know where they're from. So I went over to them and I was like, where are you guys from? And they were like, Slough. And I was like, wait, you're from here? I was like, nah, you're going first. I was like, I'm not, like, if you're from UK, I'm not going first to be nice.
Doing that, man. Yeah, but, I hear that.
For example, is that sort of thing of like, and I know, and I'm doing this on purpose. This is all the stuff that is like, it's battle 100%. Technique, but it is conceptual understanding.
100%,
that like, while everybody's waiting for us to both go and everyone's sitting there going, who's going to go first? And the judges are there and the host is there. For me to walk over to them, put my arms around and speak to them while not giving a shit, and then go, nah, you're going first. First of all, they didn't know what, they're like, what is he? Because I missed half the conversation where I said, I would have gone first if you were. I didn't say that part. I just said, no, you go. Oh, you're from Slough? You go first. It doesn't make any sense to them. That part was accidental.
Yeah.
But like the confidence to do that and walk over there.
Yeah, for sure.
A bit thrown off and out of that. And I know that. And I'm in a way, weaponizing my comfort. I'm comfortable in this surrounding and I don't care what anyone thinks. If the host is like, come on guys, I'm like, I know all of you. Yeah. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't give a shit. And I can weaponize that to make you feel more out of your depth.
100%.
Even if you're a better dancer than me.
100%.
And I think this is, now that you're saying that, it makes sense that it's like a layer that's missing, because I agree now that you've put it into perspective for me, where I'm like, I tell this to, like, I watch people and I'm like, you're a great popper, you're a great hip hop dancer, you're great at this. You're missing battle tactics. You're missing understanding of why you're doing something with your rounds. And it is that layer of...
Exactly, you know what I'm saying? So like these are the things, you know, and like the thing is as well that like it's really, really important that people understand as well, because right now, of course, we're like talking a lot about battles because
of course
this is what, like, you know, a lot of people care about battles, but like we need to understand that like this goes way beyond the idea of battles. This goes beyond about like, this goes like towards the idea of like, again, ownership of your artistry, because it's not about like how you're going to be, of course, like in the context of a battle, it's going to be about that. So like how you're going to be dancing the battle, but like even more so, like it allows you to decide how you're expressing your art based on the, again, context that you find yourself within. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, it's the same person that like is going to be producing like a hip hop like dance theater piece. And it's the same person that is going to go into a battle, like, you know, and I'm not like, I understand why people do it, but I'm not a big fan of people saying like, oh yeah, I'm not a this dancer, or I'm not a that dancer, I'm not a, like, I'm a cypher dancer, or I'm a, like, you know, it's just that like, okay, you know how to like maneuver your dance within like the context of a cypher, but you don't know how to do that, like, you know, because there's a way for you to be doing that. It's just that like you need to be figuring it out, you know what I'm saying? But that also means that like you need to be like placing yourself within these environments as well, and like
to understand the context,
and like it teaches you so much more about your art at a holistic level, because now you see yourself in the way like you're going to be dancing like in a battle, the way you're going to be dancing in a performance, in a cypher, in a theater piece, you know what I'm saying, like in a street show, and like when you're teaching, you know what I'm saying. It's because like you are looking to understand yourself, that you are capable of then like conveying that information in whatever way like you want to. And like even more importantly as well, it's like it gives you options, you know. And I always say that like and that goes back to the idea of teaching, you know, like considering that like these are things that you want to pass on. I always say that like a person like should be able to teach like the way they dance the dance, right? Like a specific style. Like they should be able to like teach the style independent of their tendencies.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? And this is like the most important one.
Yeah.
And then they should be able, like, once you are capable of doing both these things, you're going to be capable of like teaching a style based on like the way a person that stands in front of you should be dancing the dance, right? Based on your perception, everything that you see, because you understand what kind of tendencies that person can develop.
Yeah.
Because you've learned that within like, you know, your own art, and you understand like the tendencies of the style in itself, which means that like there is like certain things that are normal for the style that you're dancing that are going to be important. And like, the way you dance, again, there might be ways for you to like break certain rules that I can't break because you are moving the way you do. But like a person should be capable of doing all three things, and there's value in doing all three things depending on like, you know, again, context, situation, like, you know.
So like, I guess if I was to use an analogy for that, it's like if you're writing a book and I'm an author.
Yes.
If you say, like, let's say I'm an author that does sci-fi all the time.
Yes,
You're writing a murder mystery book.
Yes.
And then I'm like, oh, you need to include aliens. Or like, you need to like, well, when do the aliens come in and they need to go in the spaceship? And you're like, yeah, but it's a murder mystery. And I'm like, yeah, but a good book. It's like, no, a good book for me would contain aliens and spaceships, right?
Yeah.
That's like the first level is I need to be able to like tell you how to, the first level would be I need to just tell you about what good writing is, regardless of style or genre, right?
Exactly,
like
100%.
I write about spaceships, you write about murder mysteries, but I need to explain to you good writing is this, independent of our preferences.
Yes.
Then I need to say what you're saying, I guess the next level of that is being able to teach you how to write a good murder mystery, because that's the style that you want to, like, what story do you want to tell? Here's how we help you achieve that, as opposed to saying, which I think a lot of teachers do, and a lot of, even worse than teachers, is a lot of judges giving feedback, is you come up and say, how can I write a better murder mystery book? And they say, you need more aliens. And it's like, you're not listening. Yeah, exactly. You're telling me how you want me to do the style better 100%. As opposed to how I can be better at what I do. And that's I talked about this with Nikel a couple of weeks ago, but like, that's the unsexy answer, because a lot of times it's just keep doing it. Like
100%, but like, see, this is like where I learned to never tell someone to like stop doing a specific something, right? Unless it's harmful to them or other people in the environment, you know what I'm saying? But
stop taking heroin.
But like, it's been a thing where it's like, I've had to learn that because people done it to me. People like were telling me, oh yeah, stop doing this, stop doing that, like, or like, you always do this, like it doesn't serve you. That. And like, to be fair, the funny thing is that like, they were right.
But in like, the way they told you was...
Exactly. But it's like now, so what I do is like, I make people aware. Right now, you do this. What that creates is that. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to get rid of that, but you need to be aware that like,
this is aware that that's happening,
you know what I'm saying? So like, if you're not aware, now you can like, again, ownership. You can say like, I want this. Or you can say, actually, this is not what I'm trying to do. So like, let me remove this and let me like work in another direction. But like, again, I'm giving you the choice and I'm telling you like, you can make this work. You know what I'm saying? And like people really, really need that. And like, it's problematic that like so many people are going out there and are telling people like, they're trying to create the perfect image of like the way they see dance. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to like inspiring somebody to like create like legacy. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's problematic. It's really, really problematic. But like, again, for these people, they don't know better either. You know what I'm saying? Because there's this like psychological awareness is not there. This conceptual awareness is not there. You know what I'm saying? And like, but again, it's never going to be there if we're not going to be talking about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. It's like, in a simple way, it's almost like you're missing the point. You know, it's like, I think that I see so many examples of that. I don't know what it would be in house, but it's like, there's so many examples of what dance should or shouldn't be. And it's like, there's so many other factors with that, because it's like, let's say, I don't know, even if this is more of a common thing that would happen is like, someone might say, oh, you need to do, I don't know, this with your popping or this with your hip hop or whatever. But it's like, what if my point is not to win all the battles? What if I want to use battles knowing I'm only ever going to get to the quarterfinals or the semis or whatever as a marketing tool to then promote myself? And if that's my aim, there's a whole different way 100%. Of entering battles. And that's not an invalid aim. It's like, there's a lot of ways you can use battling as a great marketing tool and use that footage as to promote yourself to do other things. So in that case, I wouldn't say lose your personality and try to, in fact, you might need to sacrifice some wins that you could get in order to maximize your personality, because
100%.
People seeing you be yourself in this analogy is going to get you more work than winning the battle will. So if that's your aim, there's a different way to approach it. If your aim is, I'm just a competitor, I want to win everything, I need these like wins, okay, you might have to sacrifice some personality, because the personality is great, but your hits look like shit. And you know what I mean? It's like, you just need to do what needs to be done or whatever to appeal to the majority of judges that you're going to get, who are all value something, in common, I guess. But if you're just giving feedback based on nothing or like, it's not it's not a recipe for success, I guess. Yeah,
but like, like this is as well where like, I would even argue that like, we're just essentially talking about like something being like a short-term fix, you know what I'm saying? Or like something being like, okay, cool, the quick fix, in the sense that like, we want to get you there fast. Or like, we're working on the idea of sustainability. Because when you're looking at it, like a lot of the like greatest dancers, even battle dancers, you know what I'm saying? Like, are dancers that are extremely unique in what they do, to the extent that they have been cussed for all the things that we now love about them.
I wish I could just input, like I've said this before, I must have been on the pod a few times. But I love when I'm proven right.
It's not easy, bro. Not 100%, bro. Like, it's true, you know what I'm saying? And like, that is just like, it's a thing that is happening, you know what I'm saying? So like I would never say to a person like, or like even if a person was to tell me like, oh yeah, like I'm not really trying to win this battle, like I'm wanting to like prove a point with the way I dance and all of that. I'm saying that that's beautiful, you know what I'm saying? But don't like undermine yourself. Like it doesn't mean that you can't. It's just going to be a longer road up until the point people are going to accept what you're doing.
And most times, those are the people that win the most.
Bro,
look at any prolific battlers over the last
100%,
let's just say just the last 10 years or 15 years. Salah, the Twins, even people like Cloud in break-in, or like fair. Prolific iconic battle winners who were for a while. So, oh, that's not break. Morning of Al Crew, I think, are like that type of like, oh, is that even really break? Or like Salah, is that even really popping? Regardless of your opinion on that, they get successful. The Twins.
Bro, like, it's true. It's like, you can't really say anything. So whether you like it or not is another thing.
And it's like, if you know, if you're like, oh, I only want to win, it's like the secret is going against the grain is what's going to get you the acceptance of everyone in the end anyway. So it's like, you know,
bro.
Funny bone.
No, but I hear that, you know, and like the thing that I always say about that, like, is like, again, you can either like you can make a choice, you know, like people are either going to like love you for like everything that like you are, you know what I'm saying, and everything that you want to be, you know what I'm saying, or like they are going to like hate you for that. Then on the other hand, they are going to be like hating you for all the things that you are not, as in that you pretend to be.
Yeah.
So like, essentially speaking, like you're just making the choice between like, you're going to be loved and hated anyway. So you might as well just be loved for the things that you really want to be loved for.
Listen.
You know what I'm saying?
Bars.
So it's like, yeah, man.
It's like I had to somewhat think of that with the podcast. It's like, I could say the things that I think are like, you know, people are going to want to hear or whatever.
100%, yeah.
And the half of people or a percentage of people are going to hate me for that anyway. Or I can say what I actually genuinely feel, which happens now is that, you know, 3 times a week someone texts me going, what you said on the pod. It might be fucking Kieran or it might be someone I don't know, but I'd rather stand behind something that I actually feel.
For sure.
And the same with my dance. You know, I've told stories about this on the pod before, but like, I'd rather lose because of who I am than win because of who I'm not, or even worse, lose because of who I'm not. Imagine changing your whole dance because you think like that's the right thing to do or the right way of dancing, and then lose, and you're like, I wish I would just be me, and then I know for real, you know.
At least you're losing, like, again, I don't want to say with dignity, but it's like,
in a way, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like the thing is as well is that like it's not like authentic in a way that like when you are losing as like who you are not, you don't even know what to work on. But like when you're losing based on who you are, there's an idea of like, okay, but like where is it that like, you know.
And that's more of an internal feedback where you look at your round and you're like, I like,
exactly.
I need to do this more or because I want to do it more, not because of just some generic like advice from the judge or whatever.
100%. Exactly that. So like, you know, it's your choice.
Yeah.
You hear that? It's your choice.
It's all your choice.
Make the right choice. Make the right choice, boy.
The last thing I'll ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, maybe I shouldn't ask you last thing. You have to go soon. Ooh. Oh, let's say 5 more minutes and then we'll go.
That's fine. What time is it?
3:10.
Oh, that's fine.
You got to leave at 3:30.
Yeah, but
cool.
like that's cool. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So the last thing I was going to say is what can we learn? What can we learn from performance psychology? Either that like things in dance that we can take out to real life.
Yeah.
Or other circumstances, or things that we might be good at outside that we can bring into dance. Like where there's a discrepancy between what should be parallel situations, but you're better at one than the other. How can we learn the transferable part of the transferable skills?
All right, like it's a really good question and it's hard to answer just like that, straightforward, you know. But like one thing that I would say is that like it's important that we understand as artists, as dancers, that like who we are outside of the dance is who we are within the dance, on the dance floor, you know what I'm saying? And like what is important is that like we bring that part of ourselves, right? Or like that self onto the dance floor consciously. So now from there, like, you know, like it means that like essentially like you're trying to bridge a gap, because dance is about like, of course for all of us, it's about freedom. You know what I'm saying? It's about like feeling free. It's about feeling good. It's about like, creating these moments of magic, right? But like at the same time, there's ways, and this is where the performance psychology really comes into play, right? That there's ideas that are there that can help you to like sustain and build the level that you have, and that can help you build again who you want to be. But like that requires structure in the process of learning, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to thinking that like everything you're just going to be learning it like just freestyling, you know what I'm saying? And in the same way, like on the other hand, now what the dance like can give us, and like this is also what I'm trying to like basically add to the idea of like the performance psychology world, is that dance, again, like I said, it's about flexibility, it's about freedom, it's about complexity. It's understanding that like all these things that we know can be challenged and they can be like maneuvered around. So like these ideas need to remain flexible. So by like remaining like, flexible and like understanding that like you are adaptable, you are capable of like, like creating change, you know what I'm saying? You're capable of like, again, taking these ideas and like creating something that like, that hasn't been seen before. And this is something that like I learned in my first year of uni, right? The most beautiful thing about a theory is the fact that it's just a theory. It's not more than that, right? But again, it requires like us to be open to the idea of like, for example, what the academic world is going to be bringing with like, or the sciences. And on the other hand, like it requires like the sciences to remain flexible, but this is our duty, as in like we are the ones that are going to be teaching the sciences that, you know what I'm saying? We are going to be the ones to like challenge the sciences within that. But again, it means that we need to be open to receiving first,
Right.
And this is what I would say, if that like makes sense. It's a little bit abstract, but like it's more about like, the idea of like remaining flexible up here.
Right. And I guess it kind of comes in, it's like the contextual sensitivity comes into play, I guess, with that, because it's like maybe if there's certain challenges or certain, whatever the opposite of a challenge is, benefits or bonuses to certain things in different areas, that if you recognize maybe the similarities between the context, it's easier to like
100
bring those things in or be flexible in that way of like,
insight provides choice. So like generate that insight and like make sure that like you're making the choices that you want to make. But again, like even that is a process of learning, so it's not just going to be happening in the beginning. You will not want to make specific choices, you know what I'm saying? But like be open to that idea and just like explore that in all the contexts. Don't box yourself in, man. Like,
so would you say that the like performance psychology stuff is like almost by the time you're the self doing, it's too late? Like the work needs to happen way before
that,
right?
Way before that. But again, like the amazing thing about it, I was gonna say funny, I don't know why, but like the amazing thing about it is that like even though the work needs to be happening way before that work can start now. You know what I'm saying? It can start now, because like the funny thing about it as well is that like, this is actually funny, but like is that like obviously like the younger you are, the harder it's going to be to grasp something like that.
Sure.
So essentially, even like if you haven't been like thinking about these things, you know what I'm saying? Like these things are going to come to catch you up at some point. So very often, like when I'm teaching younger people, and I'm talking about like up to like maybe the age of 23, 24 even, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I'm not expecting you to get everything that I'm saying, but like I want to plant a seed, because at some point somebody is going to be watering the seed, and you're going to be remembering these words. You're going to remember this concept. You're going to remember like, this theory idea. And this is when it is time for you to like start basically on this new journey. But again, it needs to start somewhere, because like if I teach you at like, well, like if you come to me at 25, 26, 27, like and older, that's fine. But like, if like, it's a matter of like you not wanting to be engaging with these things up until that point, then okay, cool, we still need to water it, and then it will start growing at a later point, you know what I'm saying? So like it's still like important for like, no matter where you're at in your journey, to just get going. You don't need to know how, you just need to start trying,
And the start of that would be what, like trying to understand the different layers. Like what's the, if you're someone that's like listening to this and you're like, all right, I don't do any of this stuff, I'm not like, I'm just a technique person, whatever. and you want it like without obviously go take one of Joel's workshops or like mentoring or any of that stuff. But what's something that like the first step at home that is like, all right, at least just start thinking about it in this way, or is there something easy and applicable?
100%. Ask yourself how you're dancing. As in like, and try to answer that question.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And like, if you want to break it down even more, like start creating some sort of like performance profile. Like, what are your physical qualities? Try to like separate them from like your technical qualities. What are the techniques that you're using within your dance? What like, you know, are the concepts that you're like in tune with?
Yeah.
You know, conceptually speaking, like where you are, you know what I'm saying? And if you like, be honest with yourself, you know what I'm saying? Be honest with like the idea of like, okay, I don't do any of that stuff. I know that like sometimes people say this about me, 100%, that's good. But like ask yourself like, and this is then the psychological part, who are you when you dance? You know what I'm saying? And where does that come from? Where did this person like, you know, like where did that birth that person?
Yeah, and why do you have the ideals or the why are you the artist that you are? Exactly. I guess. So would you recommend people as a takeaway task? Yes. Would you recommend people writing those 4 levels down,
basically, and
just try and fill out as much as you can about yourself?
100.
And then, so what were the 4 levels again? Physical,
technical, conceptual, psychological.
And what qualities you have or don't have, strengths and weaknesses in each one, and then be like, right, now all I'm going to do is when I train, when I compete, when I do anything, try and have these things in mind and base my decision making on all 4 levels.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's a good task.
Like from there,
I'm going to do it.
But from there, basically, you're building the self-awareness. Yep. Then the next step that we can do is like building the contextual sensitivity, where now like we're going into the environment and we're trying to apply these based on everything that is happening surrounding us in a dynamic environment, as opposed to just statically, right, being like, okay, this is who I am.
So first step is making decisions based on this. The second step is making the right decisions based on this.
Like more like the first step is like just like, you know, gaining an awareness of these things. Yeah. And the second step is just making the decisions based on that.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because like, again, right and wrong decisions is a little bit like...
subjective.
Exactly. It will be dependent on who you are in what context, you know?
Yeah.
And then from there, then like we're talking about like other stuff that we haven't even touched on.
Then you have
today.
to go and pay Joel's hourly rate to get the mentoring.
You know what I'm saying?
I would definitely recommend it. No, but I don't want to keep you for too much longer because you got to roll. But thank you for being here. I think
thank you for having me.
You're the perfect person for a pod, I think, where it's like, and a class and stuff like that. But it's like,
look so cute though.
Hey,
keep going, bro.
No, like, yeah, but don't stop. No, but like, I think it's like you. And this is what why I want to do the pod, but also why I love the scene and stuff. It's like, there's things that we're going to gain from talking that is like, I could watch you dance for hours. And it's like, until I hear and understand the reasoning behind it. And like, you're not going to take that. Or like I said, if you just taught me house and it was like, all right, here's how to do a fucking pas de bourrée. I'm not learning this. And I don't even have to dance to learn what I'm learning from you. So it's like, I think it's great to have you here, and I think this is super, valuable for people. So thanks for
appreciate it.
Coming. We finally made it happen. We've been trying,
bro. We've been trying, boy, but we made it. I
had to pay Joel 10 grand to be here.
Basically,
but let us know if you want part 2. I'm trying to think also, like, I feel like having you and Nikel on the same pod would be good, because he's that type of thinker as well.
Nikel! Get over here.
Come on, Nikel. We can do it in French, and then I can just sit and be like, oui. But yeah, anyway, thanks for coming. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let us know if you want a part 2, and also leave comments if there's any specific parts that resonated with you, that you liked, any questions you have for Joel, and he can go on the YouTube and answer. And that's it.
On that note, shout out to my mother.
Shout out to Joel's mother, who I've never met, but I'm sure she's lovely.
She's absolutely lovely.
And also, before we finish, I have to give you a compliment, or not even a compliment, but a thank you. Go ahead. You are one of the first people.
Yep.
I did an exhibition battle at JoJo's. Do you remember? I don't remember who it was against, but I did an exhibition battle at JoJo's, and we weren't super tight at the time. We just knew each other from the scene, but you came to me and you were like, you said something about that one of the strongest parts of my dance was my intention, and like no matter what,
rings a bell.
But trust me, I remember it. Like, and you said it afterwards, because I think it was an exhibition battle or a battle that I lost or something. But you were like, you're one of the like people that like the strongest thing is like your intention, and you execute things in a way that like you believe that in what you're doing, regardless of whatever might be going in your head, you're executing as if you mean everything and everything's super clear and blah, blah. And it's like, that was definitely, it helped me to realize that that is something that I wanted to do. But it also like changed a lot. It helped to change the perspective, the journey that I was going on, I think, quite early on. Like I wasn't super set on that route. And that, when you said that to me, that was one thing that I was like, that's it. Like, not only, I don't know if that's a good point, but I was like, that is something that I want to do. Is like, I want to commit. I want to like believe in this thing. I like clarity. I like the audience understanding exactly what I'm doing and all that. So, and it really helped me to push in terms of training and stuff like that. So I always say this, but I just want to bring up these examples, whether it's you or whether it's someone like Feist or whoever like that I looked up to, where it's like those little comments when you're like, and I try to make an effort to do it now, but like when you think something about someone, and you're like, yeah, well, why are they going to care if who am I to say that to them or whatever? It's like, go and say it because this is now probably 12 years later that I still remember and it like impacted my journey and how I train. So A, thank you for saying that. But B is like a message to everyone else is like, people will remember the shit you say, good and bad. So be careful with your bad comments as well. But yeah, I think those little comments like really mean a lot to people. So
100%.
Shout out for that.
Easy. Like, and that is the perfect, like, mic drop.
It doesn't really. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Catch you next week. Peace.